Portions of the following program were pre-recorded. 95.3 WDAE has your chance to win $1,000. Just enter this nationwide keyword on our website. Money. That's M-O-N-E-Y. Enter it now. 953WDAE.com. Everything Tampa Bay sports. We are 95.3 W237CW Pinellas Park, WRUB HD3 Clearwater, and the mighty AM 620 WDAE St. Petersburg, an iHeart radio station. It's Wednesday, from Holiday to Oldsmar, and all around Tampa Bay, plus worldwide on iHeart Radio.
The gloves are off. I'm playing hardball. It's 4th and 15, and you're looking at a full court press.
You're tuned into the voice of the Tampa Bay sports fan.
You're going to like this guy. He's all right. He's a good fella. He's one of us.
Buckle up, because you're on the drive with TKras. Afternoons on 95.3 WDAE and AM 620.
Welcome aboard on this Would You Rather Wednesday. Good afternoon, Tampa Bay. The Drive with TKras, presented by Moss Nissan, is on the air. Great to have you with us on what is another frigid day here in Tampa Bay. Executive producer Chris Mathis also riding shotgun. And you there. We are live in living color, don't you know? At 95.3 on the FM side, the mighty AM 620. And don't forget to download the iHeartRadio app, absolutely free. It's the new and improved iHeartRadio app. It is exciting, Coach. You should be on there. You should be looking over the app, finding out what we're saying about you and about the Buccaneers. They have the new preset feature on there, so you can go in there and you can preset your favorite iHeart stations. And also, you can favorite your favorite radio station, your favorite podcasts like WDAE. The Drive, of course, commercial-free podcast of this pathetic show, can be accessed through the new and improved iHeartRadio app. You can listen to us from anywhere in the civilized world through the app. It is awesome. And good afternoon to all of you watching us on the stream. We're on YouTube, Facebook, and X at 953 WDAE and AM 620. Like and subscribe all day, every day. To get involved with the program, you know the numbers, 888-546-4620. You can text in your thoughts at 82945 on the Bartow Ford DAE text platform, where standard message and data rates do apply. And all guests will appear via the Central Florida Behavioral Health Network DAE hotline. We got a huge show. It's a 4-hour sports talk extravaganza for you all the way up until 7 o'clock. In an hour from now, we're going to talk about the Rays and their future here in Tampa Bay. Pinellas County Commissioner Chris Latvala will be back with us. I noticed, Chris Mathis, he's been very active on social media and on X.
That he has been, and he also joked around with the fact that we're probably bringing him on air today to talk about Liam Cohen staying with the Buccaneers.
That's right. That's going to be my first question, and we're going to have a full breakdown. By the way, Eric Neander texted me this morning. He's like, man, I'm sorry, man. I've been out of the loop because I text him a couple of times, and sometimes he'll text me back right away. Sometimes it takes, I don't know, like a week or two.
I can hear you.
Thank you. I'm glad you finally did this morning, Eric. But we're going to catch up really soon. We're going to get him back on the show when pitchers and catchers report for the Rays. But we'll discuss the Rays off the field and their future. And I want to ask Chris Latvala if he's going to pay $30,000 for season tickets. You know, in the bougie section there of Steinbrenner Field. I think that's where you might catch me on occasion. Well, that should be an interesting dynamic once the Rays season rolls around. But the future of the Rays, Chris Latvala, Pinellas County Commissioner, he'll be with me at 4:05. Then at 4:30, Barrett Sallee, our college football insider, Ohio State are the champs. Does this mean the Big Ten is the king of the hill? Well, they've won the last 2 national championships, but there's a lot of SEC slander happening out there. Is that warranted? We'll get with Barrett Sallee at 4:30. Would you rather at 5:30 as well, as we'll take you all the way up until 7 o'clock. So much to do. Let me tell you, I left here yesterday, and I drove home in a driving rainstorm. It was that freezing rain I was telling you guys about. It didn't get to the point, and I remember looking down. It was 41 degrees when I was driving home. And thankfully, I made it home fine. It was great. But obviously, areas north of us, the Panhandle, I can't believe some of these snowfall totals that I saw this morning. New Orleans, where the Super Bowl will be happening in a couple of weeks. 8 inches? 8.5 inches in a place called Milton, Florida, which is right there in the Panhandle. Pensacola got several inches. Tallahassee. This is incredible. The fact that we've seen this historic winter storm hitting Florida. Snow in Florida. And not just a coating or a flurry, like 8 or 9 inches of snow. I never thought I would see the day. Just incredible. But the freezing rain and last night, it was just a perfect night just to stay inside and catch up on whatever, your streaming services, your favorite shows. Obviously, football is done on the college side. The NFL side, we got Championship Sunday, and we'll certainly get more into that. Yes, today, tomorrow, into a Football Friday. And we'll tell you about Football Friday, too, coming up a little bit later on as we will take the show on the road. We're going to tell you where we'll be coming up in a matter of moments. But there's so much to do here on the program today. A lot happening, obviously. There was some breaking news this morning, and it was the best possible outcome for your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. There was also some bad news for the Buccaneers, too. But in this instance, the good outweighs the bad. And that is the theme of our opening drive here on a Wednesday. Hit it.
Start the engine. Gas to the floor. Here's the opening drive.
Opening drive brought to you by the award-winning Chattanooga Whiskey 91. Available at your favorite Tampa retail store. Drink Chattanooga Whiskey and enjoy responsibly. Cheers. It might be time maybe to break out a little Chattanooga Whiskey for a celebration toast. If you're a Buccaneer fan, if you're a Buccaneer staff member, if you're a Buccaneer coach, and I'll tell you, if you're Todd Bowles too, he should be sipping some Chattanooga whiskey right now.
I'm excited.
I'm excited too, Coach. I'm going to tell you why in a matter of moments. So the breaking news that took place this morning, the best possible news if you're a Buccaneer fan. Liam Cohen scheduled to go to Jacksonville today for a second interview in person. He was thought to be the leading candidate for the Jacksonville Jaguars head coaching job. Well, guess what? At the 11th hour, he called them up, and I want to know what that phone call sounded like when Liam Cohen called up Shad Khan. Is like, I heard there's a winter storm up there. The conditions are treacherous. I think I'm going to cancel my interview. That might have been part of the reason why he canceled it. The main reason is why Liam Cohen is not going to Jacksonville is that the Buccaneer organization did the smart thing, what they've done over the last several years, which is why they've turned into one of the best organizations in the NFL. The Bucs were petrified that they were going to lose Liam Cohen. And once they found out he was going for that second interview, that's when Jason Light stepped in, Todd Bowles as well, as the Glazers, the team owners. And they said, we can't let this guy get out of the building. So the conversation commenced, and the Buccaneers said, look, you've done a tremendous job. We're a top 5 offense. We improved in every statistical category. Number 3 in total offense. Number 4 in scoring offense. Number 4 in running the ball. Where the Buccaneers were dead last in running the football each of the previous 2 years, they were in the top 5 this year. And Bucky Irving and one of the better O-lines in the NFL certainly contributed to that. But Liam Cohen was the orchestrator. His innovative play calling, his run blocking schemes and concepts were second to none. And a lot of people around the NFL took notice, which is why the Jaguars had him at the front of the line. Now, I said a couple of weeks ago, and I still believe this, I think Liam Cohen's dream job was the New England Patriots head coaching job. Being from Massachusetts, went to UMass, huge Brady fan, huge Patriots fan. And in my opinion, the Patriots' job was the number one job available for head coaches. That job went to Mike Vrabel. So once I saw Mike Vrabel take that job, I thought there was a good chance that he would come back. And then he had his first interview, the virtual interview with the Jaguars, and by all accounts, he knocked it out of the park. So Jacksonville wanted him back. And usually when you go back for a second interview, that means they like you and you presumably like them. That wasn't the case in this instance. But the Jaguars had Liam Cohen number one on their wish list. And the Buccaneers knew that. And once they caught wind of that, they moved quickly. They got Liam Cohen and said, look, what is it going to take? Let us make it worth your while to stick around here. You want to be one of the highest paid coordinators in the NFL? Boom. And there are several reports out there that he's probably going to make around $4.5 million per year. That's what Vic Fangio, the Eagles defensive coordinator, makes. He's the highest paid coordinator right now, I think, in the NFL. Look, he's done a great job with that unit. The Eagles are in the NFC Championship game. And the big reason why, obviously, Saquon Barkley, but it's that suffocating defense orchestrated by Vic Fangio. Jalen Carter, the pride of Apopka, is certainly a part of it. But Liam Cohen is going to get a hefty raise. He's getting a new contract. He's making more than $4 million a year. And I'm just wondering, and I don't know this for a fact, but I'm just wondering if there were certain other clauses, perhaps, in that deal, which we're never going to know about. The Buccaneers would not want that, obviously, out there. If there was, I don't know if it's in writing or maybe a wink, wink, nod, nod, that why don't you stay here? We'll make it worth your while. We're going to give you a big raise, and maybe down the road, you never know what might happen. Who knows what the future might hold? It's unpredictable, right? And Todd Bowles, by the way, was one of the guys out in front of it. He wanted Liam Cohen back. Even though it might mean if Bowles struggles next year, the next commander-in-chief in waiting, your vice president, is probably in the building. The next guy in line. And Todd understands that. He knows this is a business. He's been fired before as a head coach. So the heat is going to be turned up on Todd Bowles a little bit. Now that Liam Cohen is here, he's staying. It's a tremendous lift for the Buccaneers. It's a tremendous lift for Baker Mayfield, who's had, 76 offensive coordinators since he's been in the league. He's never had one 2 years in a row, I don't think. And now he's going to have Liam Cohen 2 years in a row. Tremendous. And Baker had the best year of his career under Liam Cohen's tutelage. Top 3 in the NFL in passing yards, completion percentage, passing touchdowns. He's the only quarterback who placed in the top 3 in all 3 of those categories. So I think this is a tremendous move for Baker. He's extremely happy. It's a tremendous move for a guy like Bucky Irving. He's got to be extremely happy. Over 1,000 yards rushing as a rookie. He really took off, especially toward the second half of the season, especially after the Buccaneers named him the starting running back, which he absolutely deserved. I mean, he devotes a lot of that success towards Liam Cohen and his scheme, and, of course, the offensive line up front. They love Liam Cohen. They do. And I remember, telling you guys about the conversation that I had with Kate Otten in the locker room the day after the Buccaneers lost to the Commanders, and how he was speaking in glowing terms about Liam Cohen and how personable he is, about how much he pays attention to the details and everything else. And, the players love him in that locker room, especially, obviously, the offensive players. They're the ones who deal with him directly. But that sort of passion, that personable attitude, the innovative, creative play calling, especially when it comes to the run game. I mean, guys saw it. It resonated in that locker room. And these guys are like, listen, this guy's a real deal. There's a reason why we're putting up 30-plus points a game. And obviously, you got to have the players to do it. But maintaining that continuity on offense was big. And the Buccaneers saw a lot of value in maintaining that continuity. That's why they stepped forward. They gave Liam Cohen more money. They gave him a new contract. And I don't know what kind of clauses might be in that contract about him maybe being the next guy in line. But the main news is this. Liam Cohen's here to stay. It's a top 5 offense. The Buccaneers are only going to get better. And you have to tip your cap to the Glazers for stepping forward. They know what a valuable commodity Liam Cohen is to other teams around the NFL, but he is way more valuable to this team, to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, than he would ever be to anyone else because they already knew what they had in him. And they stepped up. And I'll tell you what, this is going to send waves, not just throughout the NFL, but certainly through the locker room. You saw what the Buccaneers did that last regular season game. That was a call by management and Todd Bowles to do everything in their power to get Mike Evans his 1,000 yards because they knew how much it meant to Mike to achieve that milestone. Players take notice of that. Players also take notice of the fact that ownership, and the front office, they see value. When somebody's doing a good job, you pat them on the back and you reward them. And other players will be rewarded, so on and so forth down the line. And that means something to players. It really does. It means something to the organization when you have an ownership that's willing to be assertive, to go all out in protecting their own valuable assets, to keep their own from getting out of the building. And that's what the Buccaneers did today. It was a slam dunk move. It was the best possible move to keep Liam Cohen around for the foreseeable future. Would it surprise me if he was the head coach in waiting? No, it would not. And that's going to put some pressure on Todd Bowles. Now, Todd Bowles was out in front of it. He wanted Liam Cohen back. Probably mainly because, the offense was doing all the heavy lifting and Todd Bowles' defense was
No.
What?
You insulted him a little bit.
Did I mention something that was not factually correct? Todd Bowles like, I'm going to say this one time.
Okay, I'm going to say this one time.
We cannot let this guy out of the building.
Not at this time.
Not at this time, no. And he's here for the foreseeable future. And whether or not he's the next guy in waiting remains to be seen. But, I would liken this structure right now as Todd Bowles is the president, and there's the vice president right there waiting in the wings. And that's how I would equate this situation right now. And soon, maybe sooner rather than later, who knows? The vice president may very well get bumped up into the Oval Office at some point. You can't rule it out. The Bucs did a big thing today. And if they paid him as much money as the reports say he's getting paid in the $4 to $4.5 million range, that shows you something. That shows you that the Buccaneers are committed to Liam Cohen. And that Liam Cohen is committing to them. And whether or not there's a wink-wink, nod-nod arrangement for somewhere down the road to be the guy, that remains to be seen. Would it surprise me? No, it would not. 888-546-4620. Text at 82945. So that's the big news this morning. Everyone is all excited and up in arms. By the way, we are efforting the Bucs offensive coordinator, Liam Cohen, to join us here on this program. It's not going to happen today. There's a lot of things happening, but we're hoping maybe in the next couple of days to get Liam Cohen here, Chris Mathis. So,
one of those cigars.
Well, listen, Jason Light, I think you've done enough to earn a cigar. And I don't know if Liam Cohen smokes a cigar, but I think he's in line for one too. And maybe that's one of the questions I'll ask him when he does join us here on the program. Does the 39-year-old Liam Cohen, one of the brightest offensive minds in the NFL right now, how does he spend his downtime? Is he a bourbon and cigar guy? We'll find out. But I spoke with a Bucs official this morning, and the word ecstatic was used. They said, we're ecstatic that we got him back. And they should be, because all you got to do is turn on the tape and look at what the Buccaneers did offensively. They were a machine. You try to crowd the line of scrimmage, boom, they'll throw it over your head to Mike Evans, Jalen McMillan. There were a couple of games where Cade Otton obviously was a big factor when Mike was hurt. Chris Godwin looms too. Chris Godwin was having the best year of his career in this Liam Cohen-led offense before he got hurt. I think Chris Godwin will be back. In fact, I expect him to be back. Now that Liam Cohen is back, maybe that's a message, Chris Godwin. Hey, I don't know if you're thinking about going somewhere else, but this is where Chris Godwin wants to be. And Liam Cohen coming back is also going to be a way of saying to pending free agents like Chris Godwin and Ben Bredesen on the offensive side, hey, this guy is back. You were really productive in this guy's system. Why in the world would you try and go somewhere else? Look, if you're going to get paid a heck of a lot more money, I understand it. But let's just take Ben Bredesen, for example. If he goes into free agency and let's just say the Bears want him, Ben Johnson is out there. And if they're offering something comparable to what the Buccaneers are offering, if I'm Ben Bredesen, I'm like, I already know Liam Cohen. I had a breakout year in Liam Cohen's system. Florida, no state income tax. I think I'll stay here. I think if the offers are comparable, Bredesen stays here. If he gets blown out of the water, that's a different story. Like he made $3 million this year. If they're offering him $6 to $7 million, if they double his money, then that's a different story. But Chris Godwin, if you're Chris Godwin, you got to be thinking, all right, this guy's back. I had the best year of my career. And again, if I were Chris, and I don't know what he's thinking, you know, he's a wonderful young man, a great player, and the ankle rehab and how that's coming along is certainly going to factor into what he gets from the Buccaneers or somebody else. But if I were him, I would bet on myself. I would roll the dice and maybe do a one-year deal. And if I have a great year, Mike Evans' contract is up after 2025, then he's going to be in a far better position to command a huge deal after 2025. But I'm not his agent, okay? That is the game plan if I were Chris Godwin. And we'll see what he ends up doing. But I would be really surprised if he's not a Tampa Bay Buccaneer in 2025, now considering Liam Cohen is back. But you got to hand it to Liam Cohen as well. For this very particular reason, Liam Cohen bet on himself. He came here as an offensive coordinator. He had a chance, and I think the Jaguars would have offered him their head coaching job. There's no question. He was the only offensive guy of the three guys that were going up there for an in-face interview, a second interview. He was the only offensive guy. They got Trevor Lawrence. They have some pieces on offense. I think he was their leading contender. If he wanted the Jaguars job, he would have had it. But instead, Liam Cohen bet on himself. I'm going to get a nice raise. I'm familiar with this offense. I think we could do great things. Baker and I have a great relationship, great O-line, great running game, great receiving weapons. I'm going to roll the dice and bet on myself and come back here for another year. Let's run it back. And if we can achieve the same type of success, then I'm going to be a head coach at some point down the line. And it might be right here where he is. So you got to give Liam Cohen credit. I think he could have had the Jaguars job. Roll the dice. And I think he's going to gamble on himself, and that gamble is going to pay off in a very big way. 888-546-4620. Now, the bad news today, there is bad news. When we come back, I'm going to tell you what the bad news is. The Bucs got Liam Cohen back, but they did lose a valuable member of their team. We're going to tell you who that is and how this deal went down. And your calls, 888-546-4620. Text at 82945. It's a huge show. Chris Latvala, Pinellas County Commissioner at 4 o'clock. Barrett Salia, 4:30. Would you rather in the 5 o'clock hour? We're on until 7 o'clock. Liam Cohen back with the Buccaneers, but they did lose somebody today. We'll get into that too, plus your calls and texts next here on The Drive.
You're locked in to The Drive with TKras.
It is The Drive and is presented by our friends over at Moss Nissan, where their goal is to never lose your business over price. TKras here. Chris Mathis is here as well. And we have a breaking news item when it comes to our friends over at Moss Nissan, because you know they'll do whatever it takes. And our Football Friday show this Friday will originate from Moss Nissan up in Newport Richey. So we'll be out in Newport Richey this Friday from 3 until 7 for our Football Friday show. We hope you guys can join us then, because that's what they're doing. And if you're looking for a new car, come out and see us on Friday in Newport Richey. They also have a couple of other locations that we'll tell you about. And if holiday hangovers have you down, or credit card debt perhaps, they've got the cure at Moss Nissan, Chris.
That they do, Tom. No money down right now, plus no payments are due until the spring.
Which is great, and that should factor into your budget. Plus, with every purchase, you'll get Moss Care. Unlimited oil changes and tire rotations for as long as you own your vehicle. I've got that too. It's a beautiful thing.
So you're going to get all of this Tampa Bay and so much more, including the largest Nissan inventory to select from in the area.
They've got 3 locations. They're in Tampa. Newport Richey will be there on Friday, this Friday, for a Football Friday. Can't wait for that. And they're also up in Brooksville as well.
Drive with TKras, presented by Moss Nissan on WDAE.
I do believe I'm ready to do so. I don't think you're ever truly fully ready. But yeah, that is a dream. Does that need to happen when I'm 39 years old and having probably the most fun of my life, coaching and working and being here? No, that doesn't mean that needs to occur right now. But yeah, that is the goal. That is absolutely the goal.
That's Liam Cohen. That was a couple of weeks ago where he was asked about being a head coach in the NFL, and he convinced himself that he was ready, but he said it didn't have to happen right now. It's not going to happen right now. And the Buccaneers made damn sure that he wasn't going to walk out the door. New contract, more than $4 million a year. He's going to be one of the highest paid coordinators in the NFL. It's a great day here in Tampa Bay. Liam Cohen is going nowhere.
I'm not leaving.
Welcome back. The Drive, 3:34 in your ride home. Great to have you with us. TKras with you. Chris Mathis on the other side. We'll get to your calls, 888-546-4620. Text at 82945. So the good news is that Liam Cohen is staying. Unfortunately, the Buccaneers did get some bad news today. They lost John Spytek. He is going to become the new general manager of the Las Vegas Raiders.
So what's the question?
The question here, Tommy, boys, how did you pull that off? Your former teammate from Michigan? He engineered the whole Operation Shoeless Joe Jackson initiative to recruit you to come here to Tampa Bay. And now, using your conflict of interest and your influence, you're taking John Spytek away from us out to Vegas? John Spytek, congratulations to him. Look, again, like being a head coach in the NFL, being a general manager is a big deal. There are only 32 of those jobs as well. And he has worked with the Buccaneers for the last 9 years. He's been a great personnel guy, one of the right-hand men for Jason Light. And I think this is an opportunity that he's been waiting for, and now he's got it. So congrats to John and his family going out to Vegas. It's a great role for him. It's a big job for him, too. And he's got his work cut out for him out in Vegas. Just look at that division that John Spytek is walking into. The Raiders are clearly bringing up the rear out of the 4 teams in that division. Kansas City is in the AFC Championship game. Look who their coach is, Andy Reid. Look at their quarterback, Patrick Mahomes. Then you got Jim Harbaugh with the Chargers. He had them in the playoffs. Justin Herbert, his quarterback. Oh. And then you look at Denver. Sean Payton is their head coach. Bo Nix, rookie quarterback, tremendous year. And they managed. The question here is how did you get your team into the playoffs? And will there be another game where you give up 70 points? No, that's not fair. Broncos defense is actually really good. But that is what John Spytek is walking into. I'm sure maybe, look, in a perfect world that he would want to go somewhere else where there was a clearer path to success. But look, life is all about challenges. He knows that. His family certainly knows that. Tom Brady's got a really close relationship with Brady, going back to their Michigan days, and, of course, here with the Bucs. So, again, there's that connection, folks. There's always a way to connect the dots to find out where certain guys are going. So, congratulations, John Spytek. He goes out to Vegas, and we wish him the very best of luck. I think he's going to need it in that division with that team, but this is certainly an opportunity that he could not pass up, and he deserves it. Let's go to our phones. A lot of Buccaneer fans are happy, over the moon happy that Liam Cohen is staying. Dan is in South Tampa. Dan, what's going on out there? How are you?
Hey, TKras, always great to hear your insights on everything. I just had 2 quick questions. First of all, how many years is Liam's contract? And number 2, do you think he was aware that the general manager of the Jaguars was being fired when he made his decision? I'll hang up and listen.
Well, those are great questions, Dan. It's a multi-year contract for Liam Cohen. And in terms of Trent Baalke, I think that absolutely was a factor. He's an obstacle. And he's going to prevent the Jaguars from hiring a top-flight candidate. I think Ben Johnson was interested in that job, but Trent Baalke remained in place. And the fact that he was there, his presence was there, and not a whole lot of guys around the league want to work with him or for him, I think that's absolutely an obstruction for Shad Khan. And somebody in the text platform, Ben mentioned Liam Cohen used the Jaguars interview to leverage the Bucs for more money. Prove me wrong. I'm not going to disagree with that statement. And if he did, it was a brilliant move. Absolutely brilliant. There's always some leveraging happening. I mean, look at Deion Sanders with the Dallas Cowboys. You know, his name is brought up. Jerry Jones calls him. Now all of a sudden, Colorado's working on a contract extension. This is what you do. Lane Kiffin has done this for years at a number of different stops. He's always flirted with other opportunities so you can get a bigger contract from the place that you're already at. It happens all the time. And I'm not going to hold that against Liam Cohen. It's good business. It's smart. I think he used the Jaguars for leverage. Absolutely. He didn't use the Bucs for leverage. I think he wants to stay here. And maybe down the line, he could be the man here. I wouldn't rule it out, and I don't think the Buccaneers will rule it out either. Use the Jaguars for leverage? You betcha. And it worked perfectly. Perfectly. And I give him a lot of credit for doing that. He and his agent. We are efforting to try and get Liam Cohen on the show. Hopefully that happens in the next couple of days. 888-546-4620. Text at 82945. So the reaction from around the NFL was glowing. Obviously, Buccaneers were able to keep Liam, and a lot of people, I saw what Peter Schrager had to say. He gave a lot of props to the Buccaneer organization, from the Glazers to Jason Light and Todd Bowles, so on and so forth down the line, for stepping up and identifying the need to keep this man in-house and not let him go anywhere. Because I got to tell you, for a couple of weeks, it didn't feel like he was going to stick around. Once Mike Vrabel went to the Patriots, I felt better about his chances, and then the Jacksonville opportunity came up. And look, being a head coach in the NFL is, a prestigious job to have, and they don't come around often, even though every year it seems like 5 to 7 teams are always looking for a head coach because they're firing some guy and everyone wants instant gratification, and coaches get a much shorter rope than they would have gotten, 10, 20 years ago, I would think. We've seen some one-and-dones, too, on the head coaching circuit in the NFL in the past several years. Guys get fired after just 1 year on the job, which I think is absolutely outrageous. It kind of depends on the situation. I mean, you look at what happened with Gerard Mayo. I mean, once Mike Vrabel interviewed with the Jets, Bob Kraft is like, I don't care if this guy's only been here 1 year. I know he was a Patriot, but I'm sorry, business is business. We need to go get Mike Vrabel. We can't allow him to go to the Jets. We're pulling the plug on this guy. And they did. They fired Gerard Mayo, and they went out and got Mike Vrabel, which was a brilliant move by the Patriots. And now the Jets have, sort of rebounded from that. They have a new head coach, and it's Aaron Glenn, the Lions defensive coordinator, drafted by the Jets, 1994, Pro Bowl corner for many years. And I kind of admire Aaron Glenn for his rise to the top of the coaching profession. And it's not easy, man. You got to put in your work. You got to put in your dues. Liam Cohen is doing just that. Went from Kentucky to the Rams to Kentucky, back to the Rams. He went back and forth. And then he got the Buccaneers opportunity. And now his career is taking off. He's going to be a future head coach in this league. And you look at the path that Aaron Glenn has taken. Was a very good player. Then he became a scout. Then he got into the coaching profession, spent some years with the Saints, spent some years, obviously, with the Lions, worked his way up, became defensive coordinator. got some notoriety for how well that defense was playing, certainly how they baffled Sam Darnold a couple of weeks ago. I think that was the game that cinched a head coaching opportunity for Aaron Glenn, because if the Jets hadn't hired him, he was going to New Orleans without question. But you stack the two rosters and situations, they both don't really have a quarterback. I think the Jets have probably a little more talent on paper, good young talent, than the Saints at this point. And look, he's got an attachment to the Jets because he played there. He was a good player there. And now he's going to be their head coach. So I actually thought that was a sound move for once by the Jets. They'll probably go 5-12 again next year. More of your calls and texts coming up. Thanks, Coach. I think once upon a time, after that first year with the Jets, no, you had a couple of losing seasons. In fact, 3 straight there. All right. Sorry about that. More of your calls and texts coming up. How do you feel, Tampa Bay? Liam Cohen is staying. John Spytek is going. 888-546-4620. So Tom Brady steals John Spytek. Brady also comments on his future. Wait until you hear what he had to say about that. Plus, what the hell happened to the Lightning last night? It seems like a question that we're continuously asking on this show. The latest chapter on the Bolts and their road woes also coming up next.
You're locked in to The Drive with TKras.
A lot of Buccaneer fans happy out there. Maybe Liam Cohen should be celebrating along with Jason Light with maybe some Chattanooga whiskey. I would do that certainly if I were them. Liam Cohen is staying here in Tampa Bay, and if he's a bourbon lover, I would tell him, and when he does join us on the show, hey, if you're looking for a new bourbon in the new year, I would highly recommend my guys over at Chattanooga Whiskey, especially the Chattanooga Whiskey 91, their Tennessee high malt version. It is exquisite, guys. It's their signature Tennessee high malt recipe made from 4 grains, including 3 select specialty malts, aged for 2 years in barrels, and the lighter, 91 proof just comes out distinctively clean, and it also makes for a great old fashioned. I can testify to that as well. So check it out. The 111, I've got that too. That's more of a heavier bodied bourbon, 111 proof. It is outstanding. You don't mix that with anything, by the way. That's just great right on its own there. Made in Chattanooga, Tennessee, from roasted and toasted grains. Chattanooga whiskey is the dark chocolate, folks, versus everything other bourbons, milk chocolate. So check it out. Ask for it today at your local bars and retailers. Drink Chattanooga whiskey, and as always, enjoy it.
Value estimate at DuncanDuo.com.
Now, back to The Drive with TKras on 95.3 WDAE and AM 620.
I've loved kind of just the whole process and diving into all these different teams. It's been a lot of growth for me in 1 year, and I really can't wait to see what it looks like in year 2 and way beyond that too. So I got 9 years left on my deal and maybe longer. You never know. If Fox wants me, then I want to go. We'll just keep going.
Yeah, whatever. That's Tom Brady. He was on with Colin Cowherd, who was on our radio station from 12 until 3. And he was talking about his broadcasting career. Yeah, you do have 9 years left on your deal. A 10-year, $375 million deal. You ain't going to see the 9 years. I'm telling you that right now. Welcome back. The Drive with yours truly, 3:52 on your ride home on a very busy Would You Rather Wednesday. Would you rather coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. Chris Latvala, Pinellas County Commissioner, just after 4 o'clock. Barrett Salee in the 4 o'clock hour as well. So Tom Brady making the comments. He still has a ton of influence. Obviously, you saw today in what the Raiders did. That was Tom Brady. His fingerprints are all over that move. John Spytek, assistant GM, leaving the Buccaneers to become the new GM of the Las Vegas Raiders. That's Tom Brady. He's calling the shots. Why is he being allowed to do both? You can't do it. Nobody can justify it. Yet he continues to do it. Interesting. All right.
So what's the question?
Well, the question here, Tommy boy, is how much longer do you think you could keep this charade up? Listen, I don't begrudge you for double dipping. You double dipped the chip. You took a bite, then you dipped again. It's like putting your whole mouth right there in the dip. Tom Brady's double dipping the hell out of this arrangement. And I just don't understand why. I know why, because he's Tom Brady. He's the GOAT. That's why this continues to happen. But I just don't see this arrangement going for 10 years. There's no way that happens. By the way, the other thing that happened after Liam Cohen spurned the Jaguars, Jacksonville turned around and fired their GM, Trent Baalke, right before we got on the air. That organization is clueless. They have no idea. They're tone deaf. They don't have their finger on the pulse of what's going on in the league. Having that guy in his position scared off every big-time candidate that might have considered Jacksonville. If Baalke wasn't there, maybe they have a shot at Ben Johnson. Maybe they had a shot at Liam Cohen. But right after the Liam Cohen fiasco, boom, they fired Trent Baalke. That should have happened weeks ago. Oh, my goodness. The success or failure of any sports franchise starts where? Right at the very top. Oh, by the way, last night, the Lightning, I mean, they got off to a better start, didn't they? But the speed of Montreal, man, was jumping off the TV screen. And les Habitants were able to beat the Lightning. The Lightning are just not a really good road team. They got another back-to-back coming up on the road. It's Vasilevsky was okay. He started last night after Johansson won the night before in the loss in Toronto. But another road game, another loss for your Tampa Bay Lightning. Let's go to Scotty in Clearwater, and then we'll break. Chris Latvala coming up. Scotty?
Yeah, hey, Tom. 3 predictions real quick. 1, the Bucs will win a Super Bowl in the next 3 years because of this Liam Cohen move. 2, take the Commanders plus the points and Buffalo plus the points. And if you can get Washington at a really good rate to win it all, do it, because teams like this don't come along often.
And
Thanks,
thank you, Scotty. And what's extraordinary about them is it's a rookie quarterback. And the dude, Jaden Daniels, is unflappable. I give them a puncher's chance this weekend. I don't like what I'm seeing out of Philadelphia. Now, the one thing that could hold Washington back is the fact that their star guard, Sam Cosmi, is out with a knee injury. That's big because you got those two big behemoths in the middle of that Philadelphia defensive line. Jalen Carter had 2 sacks last week. He was dominant. And without Cosmi in there, that is going to be a factor. But Jaden Daniels does have the wheels. He's got great athleticism. But these quarterbacks, man, they don't want to see that pressure right up the gut. But if anybody can handle it, it's the great athleticism and awareness of one Jaden Daniels. And I think we agree on the Bills also. 2 really intriguing matchups this weekend on Championship Sunday. All right, 1 hour's in the books. 888-546-4620. Text at 82945 on the Bartow Ford DA text platform. More of the Bucs. Liam Cohen staying. John Spytek is going. We'll get more of your calls and texts on that. On the way back, though, spring training is coming around the corner. The Rays are playing at Steinbrenner Field. The bonds have been approved, but why haven't the Rays acted on it? What's the holdup? Pinellas County Commissioner Chris Latvala has been very active on social media. He's going to be very active because he joins us here on The Drive next.
tuned into the voice of the Tampa Bay sports fan.
You're going to like this guy. He's all right. He's a good fella. He's one of us.
Buckle up, because you're on the drive with TKras. Afternoons on 95.3 WDAE and AM 620.
My best guess, wow, it is going to be an owner that we do not know. I don't think it's anybody local that, the names that you hear around town here. I think it's going to be somebody from elsewhere. And I do think once you get a new owner in, a new stadium deal comes together in Tampa Bay.
That's Tampa Bay Times columnist John Romano from my conversation with him last week. And I asked him who's going to be owning the Rays in 3 years. Where are the Rays playing? He believes a new owner will likely be in control, and the Rays are somewhere in the Tampa Bay area. So many questions about the Rays and their future. We're right around the corner from pitchers and catchers reporting in early February, and then the season will commence. The Rays are playing in Steinbrenner Field this year, and then past this year, nobody knows. The saga continues. Welcome back. Good afternoon, Tampa Bay. 4:06 on your ride home. The Drive with yours truly, presented by Moss Nissan. Chris Mathis on the other side. Liam Cohen staying with the Buccaneers. That's the big news of the day. We'll get back into more Buccaneers and NFL talk. Barrett Salih will also join us. We'll talk college ball with him coming up at 4:30. But what is the future of the Rays? There's always drama surrounding this issue with the Rays and the Trop and Steinbrenner Field and the bonds and their future location, future owner. Is Stu going to sell the team? So many questions. Let's try and get some answers. He's standing by in the Central Florida Behavioral Health Network DA hotline. Learn more at cfbhn.org. Pinellas County Commissioner Chris Latvala is back with us on the Drive, and I think he wants to talk about Liam Cohen staying with the Buccaneers. What's going on, Chris?
Hey, good afternoon. It's a big day in Tampa Bay.
It sure is. I know you're very eager to talk about the Buccaneers and Liam Cohen back, huh?
Yes, sir. That's big news. I'm glad the Jaguars fumbled it.
The Jaguars always find a way, bad owners always find a way to mess it up for everybody else, and their poor fan base is, left to pick up the pieces. And look, the Rays are certainly in a precarious situation here. Obviously, you're right in the middle of it. You've been all over it. We had you on last time, and you were weighing whether or not to approve the bonds. Your commission approved the bonds. The St. Pete City Council approved their portion of the bonds. And now there's some sort of waiting game going on here. So what can you tell us about where things stand?
Yeah, so we approved the bonds 36 days ago. And, 21 days after our first delay, which occurred right after a hurricane, the Rays sent us a letter saying that the stadium would be delayed for a year and it would, massive cost increase. And now it's been 36 days and they really haven't said much, or really they haven't said anything other than they need more money, which the agreement that they signed in July and they wanted, says that they're responsible for all cost overruns. So, the ball's in their court, and, I'm confident that baseball will be staying in Tampa Bay, but I can't tell you who the owner will be, when that stadium's built.
So when was the last time you actually heard from the Rays?
I spoke to the Rays in November. I had a 5-minute conversation with one of their presidents. It was right before the second time that we delayed it, and it wasn't a very pleasant conversation. I have not talked to them since then. Our county administrator has met with them a couple times, but I don't want to, get into specifics of what those talks are, other than, it's not negotiations or anything like that. The county, voted on the bonds. We did our job. Now it's up to the Rays to do theirs.
Your county administrator met with the Rays when exactly?
I believe it was either last week or the week before.
Okay.
And it's, just a general meeting. that I believe the city may have been a part of as well.
How did that meeting go? I mean, what was the tone of the meeting?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really want to get into too much specifics, but there wasn't negotiations, per se. Of course, the Rays wanted more money, but they're not going to get it. And I think the Rays were just trying to, blame everybody for their, issues and whatnot.
Did they ask for more money in this meeting? Is that what they did?
Yeah, I mean, they asked for more money 10 minutes after we approved it. They sent out a press release saying that they, needed more money and expected more money. But I can tell you that Major League Baseball has, been involved probably since, November, and they're still involved. And our county administrator still talks to Major League Baseball and the commissioner regularly. And so, they're active, and I'm confident that even if the stadium doesn't get approved on the Rays end, and the agreement falls apart, that doesn't mean the Rays are going to, move. Because I think it's pretty near impossible for Stu Sternberg to get the owners to approve him to be able to move and to get Major League Baseball's approval to even look outside of Tampa Bay.
Pinellas County Commissioner Chris Latvala is with me here on the drive. So I think the Rays were upset when the vote was delayed the first time in late October, but the circumstances were certainly not ideal. There were 2 hurricanes that came through, so I understand their position. They weren't happy that it was put off, and then they had a lot of people lined up ready to relocate to get on the project, and they had to put that on hold, and that obviously time costs money, Chris, as you know. So do you understand where they're coming from at all, or no?
I mean, not really. It's hard to have sympathy for a billionaire. And, if Mr. Sternberg's not a billionaire, he's awfully close. And the moment he sells the Rays, he's going to be a billionaire. So it's hard to have sympathy for somebody, of his wealth. And, the Rays are by far not the only business in town that suffered from a hurricane. And I think they were very disingenuous when they tried to blame the county for the delay and for the cost overruns and all that kind of stuff. When, for the year or two during negotiations, they were delayed several times because of the Rays wanting more money. And that wasn't reported in the media. And so, if they would have been honest from the beginning and said, hey, there's a hurricane and our finances have suffered, then I think, people would be a lot more sympathetic. But they were looking at people to try to blame and try to gain the upper hand, and now it's crickets. And it's very hard for people to be sympathetic to a billionaire. Politicians are not very popular, and I understand that, but I think a billionaire wanting more money right after a hurricane is probably even less popular.
Pinellas County Commissioner Chris Latvala is with me. Of your interaction with the Rays, have you ever had a conversation with Stu Sternberg?
Yeah, I've met him twice. The first time was at a social event, and we mainly talked about the baseball team. And we talked about the minor league system, and I told him how impressed I was with the baseball people that he had in place, and what he had developed. And then I had one meeting with him about the stadium. Most of the people that I dealt with in the numerous meetings I had with the stadium were either one or both of the presidents.
So you've had a lot of conversation, obviously, with Brian Alden, Matt Silverman, but very limited dialogue with Stu Sternberg. Does that bother you at all? Does that bother any of your peers at all? Because if you want to get something done in business, you want to go right to the man, right?
I mean, it doesn't really, I don't have to talk to him per se, but, they were upset at when we delayed the vote, but they weren't at the meeting when the vote was delayed. And had they been there, they could have answered some of my colleagues' questions or some of my questions. One of my colleagues, the day before that vote, asked one of their presidents to make a public pronouncement of support for the deal. And the answer that he got was that their finances were going in the wrong direction and that he was trying to hold the deal together on their end. And so, and they didn't even show up at the meeting. And there was another, one or two county commission meetings that they didn't show up to. And so, they're, and I've had a lot of respect for both of their presidents, because I've dealt with them a lot. But, their whole strategy now is just baffling. It's a level of arrogance that I've never really seen, because it's just, it's a sense of entitlement. And especially after the hurricanes, to ask people for more money, and they're not going to get it from the county. So now they go to the city, and if the city where they're getting the money from is directly from the taxpayers. So they're literally expecting people that just suffered from 2 hurricanes to give a billionaire more money. And that's just baffling to me. And I think that's one of the reasons why Major League Baseball quickly, sided with, the local governments.
Why do you think the Rays haven't said anything in the last few weeks since you approved the bonds? Do you have any idea?
I don't think they really wanted us to approve the bonds. I think they're trying to get their finances in order, and I think they're trying to get, people to buy equity, stakes to see if they can make the deal even work. That would be my guess. And, then if they, and to see, if they could, if this is a deal that they, even want to go through with. Because there's no doubt that their finances suffered because of the hurricane.
Oh, no question.
But, they never use that as an excuse. They use the, bond delay as the excuse of why the deal died, on their end, or why the deal suffered, or, why the stadium, is going to be a year later than what it should have been.
So people want to know, the county commission approved your side of the bonds. The city of St. Pete did theirs as well. Now there's a deadline, and usually deadlines, Chris, as you know, spur deals. Deals usually happen when you set a hard deadline. There is a deadline here, right? So tell us about that.
Yeah, so the Rays have to meet 11 different points of the terms that they agreed to. I believe it's 11. And a couple of them they have met. For instance, one of them is getting a loan from Major League Baseball of $100 million, which they have done. They did that very early on, and we had the letter from Major League Baseball. But then there's, a lot of other things that they have to meet. And the deadline for them to do that is March 31st. And if they don't do that by March 31st, the deal terminates on its own.
And then what happens after the deal terminates? If we get to that point and they don't sign off on it, then are we back to square one?
Yeah, I think if the Rays default on a deal that they agreed to, not only did they agree to, but they signed this agreement in July, then I think that the only thing left really for them to do is for Stu to sell the team. Because if he can't make a stadium deal work that he wanted and that he negotiated and, the Rays signed, then I think that the only thing left really to do is to sell the team. And then the new owner can decide if they want to do a stadium in St. Pete or in Tampa or, wherever in the Tampa Bay area.
And that may very well happen. There are certainly a lot of variables in place here. We're talking about it. Pinellas County Commissioner Chris Latvala is with me here on the drive talking about the present scenario with the Rays and whatever may materialize in the future. So the March 31st deadline's coming about. You said something really interesting a couple of moments ago that the Rays are getting a loan from Major League Baseball of $100 million to try and, meet this price tag. So it's $700 million plus they're responsible for all cost overruns, correct?
Yeah, and I believe that the $100 million that they're getting from Major League Baseball is something that any team owner can get. So it's not just, something specific to them.
Gotcha. So you had an opportunity to meet with Rob Manfred, and Major League Baseball, as you mentioned, they're becoming more and more prevalent in these talks with the Rays and, of course, with Pinellas County. So tell us about the meeting with him, and what did he have to say about all this?
Yeah. So he stressed, that he supported, keeping Major League Baseball in the Tampa Bay area, and he stressed that he was a supporter of Major League Baseball in Tampa Bay. And then he said, that he needed the bonds to pass. And he wanted the bonds to pass. And, and I said, okay, I understand. And, and then we talked about some other things, and, he answered some questions that I had, and he gave me his phone number and told me to call him anytime I had any questions. And, but it was very clear that, from my conversations with him that, he kind of connected the two of keeping Major League Baseball in Tampa Bay was connected to the bond vote. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't just, to make this deal happen. It was, and to build this stadium, it was, to get something finalized and, and then see what happens on the Rays end.
Well, listen, you can pass along his number to me because I'd like to talk to him as well. Chris Latvala is with me, Pinellas County Commissioner. So he was urging you guys to pass the bonds, which happened. Now, initially you were against it, and then you voted for it. So tell us why you did that.
Yeah, I mean, there's, politicians do things for political reasons a lot of times, and I was against the stadium for a couple different reasons. But, I didn't want my obituary to read that I was part of the reason why the Rays left Tampa Bay. And that was, what finally, led me to vote for the bonds. And it really, the main reason was talking to Rob Manfred, mm-hmm. Because it became apparent to me that if the bonds didn't pass, that, it was very possible that the Rays could eventually leave.
All right, clear something up for us. So if the Rays back out of this deal by March 31st and the deal doesn't go down, what happens to the land rights, the redevelopment rights in and around the proposed site there?
They go back to the city. The Rays don't get them.
Oh.
And I've talked to our lawyers about that a couple times, and they're very confident that if the Rays are the ones that default, that they do not get the land rights.
So what needs to happen, Chris? Just level with us. We got a lot of time. Actually, before you know it, March 31st is going to be here. We're like a couple of months away from this deadline, and it'll be here before you know it. So what needs to happen between now and March 31st?
Yeah, I mean, I think, in an ideal world, Stu Sternberg writes a check, and a stadium gets built where he wants it to be built and where he advocated for it to be built. But if he can't write the check, then he needs to sell it to somebody who can either build a stadium there or build a stadium in Tampa or wherever. Whether it's, in Ybor City or, near the Bucs Stadium or the fairgrounds or wherever.
Is it possible for the Rays to get working on this and still open for 2028 in your estimation? Or is that like...
I'm not sure. I imagine that it's getting pretty dicey now. I think it's certainly possible for it to be open at some point in the 2028 season. And then there's been stadiums that have opened midway through the season.
Now, they're going to be playing at Steinbrenner Field. I had the story yesterday in the Tampa Bay Times had it about all of these exorbitant prices for the bougie seats. You're a Rays fan. Have you paid the $25,000, $30,000 per seat for those expensive seats for this coming season?
I have not. I'm waiting for the $50 seats to open up.
$50 seats. The standing room onlys, somewhere
yeah.
in the concourse?
Absolutely.
All right, I think that will happen. But you're going to go to some games, right? I'm going to see you there.
Yeah, I mean, if they're reasonably priced, I will. And even if it's, $100 or $150, I'll try to make it over to one or two.
All right, this very interesting happenings with the Rays. They've got this deadline. And what's your gut feeling telling you here, Chris, as I let you go?
I mean, my gut feeling, if I had to predict, will be that Stu sells the team because I'm not sure that he has the money. And it's no slight against him because he has more money than I will ever have and most people will ever have. And he's still a billionaire, but I'm not sure that he's a billionaire that could, pay for the stadium and the cost overruns and all of that.
And I think I might agree with you on that point. All right, he's Pinellas County Commissioner Chris Latvala. Your thoughts on Liam Cohen and the Buccaneers. We got that right. You're very happy about that. That's why you thought you were coming on, right?
Yes, sir.
I really appreciate a few minutes of your time, and I appreciate you listening to our show every day, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, well, if there's anything you need, reach out to us. We'll talk soon. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, my friend.
You got it. That's Pinellas County Commissioner Chris Latvala. Listen, that's a tough job to be in. And I applaud him for his honesty because he said sometimes politicians, do political things for political reasons. I was against the stadium, but I had a change of heart because I didn't want to be known as the guy who drove baseball out of Tampa Bay. And that was one of the rants that I had, and I had many of them over the last several months when this whole situation was coming down. Is it possible, Chris Mathis, that I could have influenced the Pinellas County Commissioner on his vote, maybe?
I think so. I mean, it sounds like he listens to the program quite often as well.
And here's what I want, okay? I'm not trying to show off or anything or grandstand, but I'm just like a mediator, okay? I'm an arbitrator. I want what's best for everyone. What I try and do is get the facts from both sides and try and understand where each side is coming from. I understand where the Rays are coming from. Now, some things that they have said I didn't necessarily agree with 100%. They were unhappy. They thought they had the deal in July. When it passed, they had a celebration. They thought it was done. But you can't predict an act of God or a natural disaster, two of them, that decimated our area. Yeah, it tore up the Trop. The Rays were affected. Everybody was affected. And the Pinellas County Commissioner and the commission, they postponed the vote in late October, and the Rays weren't happy with that because they felt like they had their ducks in a row. They were ready to go and have everyone come down here. Initially, they were supposed to break ground this month, January. But the hurricane just completely changed the complexion of the game. It did. So you're going to have to pivot and sort of reevaluate the situation. And if you can still do it, great. And if you can't, then you need to find a plan B. And the Rays really haven't said much in the last several weeks. In fact, there was a story by Colleen Wright in the Tampa Bay Times that the city of St. Pete has said that it is not required to have the Trop repaired for the start of the 26th season, as the Rays have requested. First, the Rays were like, we don't think it's going to be ready. There's too much damage. And then they reversed course. They said, okay, we want you to repair it. Get it ready for 2026. And now the story that came out today is that City Administrator Rob Gertis sent a letter to the Rays saying, yeah, we're going to work on it, but there's no deadline here. The city isn't required to, quote, diligently pursue repairs, unquote, to the Trop, and does not establish a deadline for completing those repairs. And he also said that the agreement could extend beyond the 2028 season. Remember, it's a 30-year lease, and for every year the Rays don't play at the Trop, another year gets added onto that lease. What a mess. 888-546-4620. Text at 82945. And look, I'm not sure why the Rays have been silent, but, I don't agree with them complaining about the votes being delayed because of the hurricanes. They have to understand the situation at hand. So I'm just trying to understand this from all different angles. And I just want a resolution that ends up with baseball staying here in Tampa Bay. All right, more of your calls and texts coming up. We're way late for a break. Barrett Salih's probably going to kill me because I just cut into his time. But we'll talk college ball with him on the heels of Ohio State winning a national championship. Is the SEC dead and buried? All that is next.
You're locked in to The Drive with TKras.
Boy, it's going to be another cold one out there. I hope your hot air is working, and I hope your hot water is flowing freely. We're right inside the Rude Air and Water Studios here at WDAE. And I'll tell you what, air and water are two things a certified Rude Pro partner knows an awful lot about. And you can rely on Rude to keep your indoor air comfortable, whether it's AC or heat. And now you can rely on Rude to make sure your hot water's flowing whenever you need it. Rude Water Heating is the industry leader for total water heating solutions. If you need conventional tank-type water heaters, they've got it. Tankless water heaters, that's what I've got. They've got that too. Replacement parts and accessories, check and check for all categories. Rude is your one-stop solutions provider. And with the exclusive backing of Ferguson HVAC, the certified Rude Pro partners can get the best products and parts when you need it. Rude water heaters are engineered and built tough to last. For AC and water heating solutions, connect with a certified Rude Pro partner now. Here's how you do it. Go online, RudeACFlorida.com. That's Rude, spelled R-U-U-D, RudeACFlorida.com. Tell them TKras sent you.
WDAE. Now at Staples, save up to $175 off your print order. Exclusion supply. Visit staples.com/print for details. Ends 2/1. Plus, save even more with the Easy Rewards program at Staples.
Strap in and buckle up. This is The Drive with TKras, brought to you by Moss Nissan on WDAE.
All right, welcome back. 4:36 on your ride home. The Drive with yours truly. I know it's been a really busy show. Just had Pinellas County Commissioner Chris Latvala on. My guy, college football insider Barrett Sallee is hopping on with us because we missed him yesterday. Barrett, Ohio State wins it. They certainly, I know you picked Notre Dame, and I had Notre Dame plus the points. I thought Ohio State would win a closer game, but they showed that they were truly the better team, huh?
Yeah, they did. I mean, look, I think when that defense plays the way it does after that first drive, you saw what they're made of. You saw that they can adjust from a drive-to-drive standpoint, not a quarter-to-quarter or half-to-half standpoint. And that's the biggest thing is you have to have coaches and players who understand what works and what doesn't really, really quickly. And to Ryan Day's credit, and Jim Knowles' credit, they've done that. So it was impressive. I think Notre Dame getting back into it was nice to see. I think it gives them confidence moving forward that they can play and go toe to toe with the best of the best. But I mean, in the end, you saw what the top end is for Ohio State. It is no doubt they're the best team in the country.
And they will lose a lot of guys to the NFL, but Jeremiah Smith is coming back. They'll get some other guys back. They will reload. Will they repeat next year? Do you give them a good shot of repeating next year?
Well, Jimmy's and Joe's mean everything, right? So they've got them still from a quarterback perspective. I don't know what they're going to do. I stood next to Julian Sayin on the field, and that dude needs to beef up a little bit if he's going to be the starting quarterback. But they've got the chance for sure. And anytime you have Jeremiah Smith, you're doing all right. And the transfer portal's still coming out. They still have a chance to beef up that roster. So they'll have a chance. I wouldn't put them at number one right now. Maybe not even 2 or 3, but they certainly will have the talent to get the job done.
Barrett Sallee, College Football Insiders, with us for a couple of more minutes. Are you putting Texas at number one because of Arch Manning?
No, I'm not putting Texas at number one because of Arch Manning. I think the Arch Manning hype is overrated. I think if he was going to play, he'd have played already. He, I think, is limited as a passer. I think when if you put the name Joe Smith on him, he's a 4-star player who's pretty good and can probably do some damage. But is he a superstar? Absolutely not. Nor do I think he can evolve into one. So to me right now, I would probably put Georgia number one because I like Gunnar Stockton and I think that team on a mission is scary. But no, I would definitely not use Arch Manning as justification to put Texas up there.
All right, one more out of me because this narrative has been bothering me for the last couple of days, and I want to get your thoughts because I completely trust you and your expertise. So, true or false? The SEC's best days are behind them.
In terms of the strength top to bottom, it's true. Talent dispersal is a big deal, and the best teams in the SEC during its heyday, had 2-3 deep in terms of NFL talent that can play at an elite level. Right now, they've got 1.5. The Georgias, the Alabamas, they've got strong top end rosters, but the depth just isn't there because those guys are going to play elsewhere. So as a result of that, the teams, the power has sort of shrunk a little bit and condensed. And so you're not going to see, dynasties like we saw during that magical run in the late 2000s and early 2010s. That's just not going to happen.
I know you got to run. He's Barrett Sallee, a College Football Insider. Extraordinary work the entire season. You can catch him, the Smothered and Covered podcast on Sirius XM. He's also on Outkick. And he did an incredible job all year long talking college ball with us. Barrett, I know you got to get somewhere. We appreciate a couple of minutes. We'll talk soon, my friend. Thank you.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
You got it. Appreciate you. That's Barrett Sallee.
Wow. Arch Manning, too, doesn't buy into the hype
he's
there.
not into Arch Manning.
I didn't expect, and then also to say Georgia back at number one, he feels as if that's the case. Well, I was shocked by that a little bit, too.
Look, in watching Arch Manning, he's a great athlete. I want to see more out of him as a passer. We know what kind of athlete, we know what kind of runner he is. But, yeah, I'm kind of curious to see what it looks like to have him as a full-time starter. I think Texas is going to be one of the top 3 or 4 teams in the nation. I think Georgia's back up there. By the way, those are SEC schools. And I get what Barrett is saying, but I'm not ready to bury the SEC. All right, the Big Ten has won the last 2 national championships. That's fine. That's great. Good for them. But let's not hold a parade and at the same time, signal the demise of the SEC. Because I don't think that's a thing. I don't. I'm not going to bury the SEC. They're going to be back. He just mentioned Georgia. He thinks is going to be his number 1. They play in the SEC, right? Texas, SEC. I know Alabama, they're going to lose Jalen Milroe and some other people. They got a new coach. Nick Saban's not there anymore. But it's Alabama. They're going to be back. Tennessee's going to be pretty good. Nico Amaliava's back for another year. I think Florida's going to be pretty good. Don't count the SEC out, man. A lot of people are burying them, and I just don't get that. A lot of people texting in regarding the interview with Chris Latvala. A lot of people like the interview. We certainly appreciate that. Interesting text out of the 941. This shows you that the ball is in Stu's court now, and as a fan, I don't like that. Well, that could be good, and it could be bad as well. But I think there's a silver lining here. And I think the Rays' silence tells you a couple things. By the way, this story about the St. Pete City Council sending the letter to the Rays about the trop, we're not obligated to get it ready for 2026, but we're going to try. We're under no deadline. I don't think the Rays are going to like that. But I was telling Chris Mathis during the break, and we'll certainly get into this a little bit later. You can get your calls and texts in. Yes, we know the big story of the day, Liam Cohen staying with the Buccaneers. We led off the show with it. We talked about it for 45 minutes or so. We'll get back into it as well. The Rays do things with a purpose. And I think right now, their silence is deafening to me. This is what a calculated group like the Rays does when they're about to do something big on a grand scale. So there's something about what's going on here. I can't quite put my finger on it. But I think the fact that they're sitting back and they haven't said anything to anybody really for weeks. The bonds have been approved. Everyone's waiting for them to respond by March 31st. And maybe Chris Latvala is right. Maybe they're trying to position themselves behind the scenes. Maybe they're, and look, I've heard this talk for the last 2 to 3 years now about maybe selling a part of their team, a portion of their team, in order to generate the kind of revenue that they're going to need for this project. Or maybe they're in the midst of selling the whole kit and caboodle. But I think the fact that they haven't said anything, I think their silence is deafening right now. They're up to something. That's the bottom line. That's what I'm trying to tell you here. 888-546-4620. Text at 82945. We've got Would You Rather coming up in the 5:30 segment, as we'll take you all the way up until 7 o'clock. On the way back, the Lightning. I'll tell you what, is there any way we can wipe out any road games, especially the back-to-back ones on the road? How did the Lightning get tripped up this time around? We're going to get into that coming up next here on The Drive.
We're just a call away. There's only one Morgan & Morgan.
Live across Tampa Bay, The Drive with TKras on 95.3 WDAE and AM 620.
We just lacked finish tonight. You know, some guys that are used to putting the puck in the net didn't, and it's not going to happen every night for you. So are you doing the right things to get yourself those chances? Well, we were. And so, you know, that's why playoff series are not a best of one. You know, they're best of sevens, and sometimes you're, like I said, it's usually the better team can find their way out of a series.
John Cooper and the Lightning, again, falling short on the road last night up in Montreal. They actually got off to a good start. Who knew? They scored in the first period. They had a 1-0 lead after one. In fact, they took a 2-0 lead. Kucherov scored. Gensel scored. Hey, 2-0. About 3 minutes into the second period, the Lightning had the lead, and then Montreal started to mount their comeback. The Bolts were back on their heels a little bit, especially late in the second period into the third period. They come back and tie the game, and then they win late on a late goal. And then you had Mikey Isamon, or Isamon. He got denied twice. He was right there from point-blank range. Once, twice, denied with like less than 4 minutes left. So they lack that finishing punch like Coach just talked about. And you listen closely to those comments, he's like, well, if this was a best of seven, he made it sound like, look, if we play Montreal in the best of seven, undoubtedly we'll beat them 4 out of 7.
And then also talking about the playoffs too, Tom.
Playoffs? But he's basically intimating that the Lightning would be winners. They would have the advantage over Montreal in a best of 7. But I think also he was speaking in general terms, you know, one night, any given night, we definitely could lose. We get off to a slow start, we lose. Last night, they got off to a good start, and they still lost. They've dropped 7 of their last 8 on the road. They will skate in Chicago on Friday night. So another down night for your Tampa Bay Lightning. Vasilevsky made 19 saves, obviously. It wasn't good enough. Hey, how about Kucherov? His point-scoring streak is now 10 straight games.
Good for Kucherov!
It is good for Kucherov, and I think you would trade that in for a victory. Lightning now with 53 points. They're remaining steady there. Montreal just 1 point back in the Atlantic. They have 52 points. 888-546-4620. Text at 82945. All right, 2 hours are in the books. Coming up, big news involving the Buccaneers. One key member of the organization is staying. Unfortunately, one key member is going. We'll give you the really good news and some bad news, too. And your calls and texts, overall good for the Bucs. It's next.
Bay sports fan.
You're going to like this guy. He's all right. He's a good fella. He's one of us.
Buckle up. Because you're on the drive with TKras. Afternoons on 95.3 WDAE and AM 620.
I do believe I'm ready to do so. I don't think you're ever truly fully ready. But yeah, that is a dream. Does that need to happen when I'm 39 years old and having probably the most fun of my life, coaching and working and being here? No, that doesn't mean that needs to occur right now. But yeah, that is the goal. That is absolutely the goal.
That's Liam Cohen, Buccaneer offensive coordinator from a couple of weeks ago when he was asked about his head coaching inquiries. And it says, yes, I would like to be a head coach one day. It doesn't have to happen right now. I'm 39 years old. And thankfully, it's not going to happen right now for anybody else as the Buccaneers stepped up. They are keeping Liam Cohen. Liam Cohen has spurned Jacksonville. He was supposed to be up there today for a second interview, and he was the leading contender to be the next head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. He pulled out of the running today. Why? Because the Buccaneers stepped up. They gave him a new contract. They gave him more money. He's going to be one of the highest paid coordinators now in the NFL, and maybe a chance down the road to be the man in waiting, perhaps. Good afternoon, Tampa Bay. Welcome back. 5:04 on your ride home. The Drive with yours truly, Tom Krasnicki, presented by Moss Nissan. Chris Mathis on the other side. Your calls and texts coming up. Talk to me, Bucs fans. Are you happy? 888-546-4620. Text at...
phone for 3 hours.
Well, you know what? Get on the phone. I'm not stopping you or anybody else from calling. You freaking people. 82945 is the text platform. Begin your text with DAE, followed by your comments in 140 characters or less. Would you rather at 5:30? We're with you all the way up until 7 o'clock. The big news of the day, in case you're just getting in your car, I hope you had a great day at work. I hope you're staying warm. If you've got that feature, by the way, Mathis, on the way home last night and coming in today, the heated seat feature, oof, it hits the spot.
Yeah, you're lucky. You're fortunate to have one of those. And I didn't think moving down here from North Georgia, I should have a car with that feature. But now, in hindsight, I'm thinking, man, what was I thinking?
I bought my car from Moss Nissan. That's why. It's a beautiful thing. The heated feature, man. Rain, that cold rain last night and the wind going home, and I'm nice and comfortable. My seat is heated up driving home, driving into work today. It's a beautiful thing.
Man, nice cup of coffee on the way home, too. Heated seats.
Yeah, listen.
Put that coffee down. Coffee's for closers only.
Well, the Buccaneers close out their deal with Liam Cohen. They didn't want to lose him. They saw that Jacksonville was serious, and they knew that Liam Cohen was the leading candidate for the Jaguars head coaching position. That was basically his job to lose. Take it or leave it. And at the last second, the 11th hour, Jason Light, Todd Bowles, ownership, they stepped up. They went to Liam Cohen. They said, look, we don't want to lose you. Here's what we're going to do. We'll give you a new contract. You'll be one of the highest paid coordinators in the NFL. Reports are he's going to be making more than $4 million a year as a coordinator. That's big money for an OC or a DC. And maybe, and we don't know if this is the case, the Buccaneers would never admit to this either because it would compromise Todd Bowles. I don't know if there's a clause in this contract that would have him be the head coach in waiting, so to speak. But what we have here, from a structural standpoint, is you have the president, who's Todd Bowles, and you have the vice president, who's Liam Cohen. And at some point, the term limits or some other type of situation might come up where the president is no longer the president. And then the vice president takes over. So there might not be anything in writing. Maybe there could be. Who knows? But there could be a wink, wink, nod, nod. Listen, you stay with us. You know us. You're familiar with us. Baker Mayfield loves you. It's a top 5 offense, offensive line, running back, receivers. We're loaded. Look at what they did in year 1. Top 5 in total offense, passing offense, scoring, third down efficiency, et cetera, et cetera. how much better can this team be in year 2? With some refinements, maybe with some additions. Chris Godwin wasn't around for more than half the year. If you bring Godwin back, then look out now. Then you're talking about an offense that's going to be among the very best. They already are. But they could be maybe the best offense in the NFL all around. You want to play with a light box? We'll run it all over you. You want to crowd the box? We'll throw it over your head. So I think Liam Cohen realized, I've got a good thing here. They're going to pay me really well. It's a great organization, and maybe at some point I could be the man one day. And you got to give Liam Cohen a lot of credit, because guess what? He rolled the dice. I'll bet on myself. I'm not going to take this Jaguars interview because I could probably get more money from Jacksonville and be a head coach, which is my dream come true. But I'm going to stick it here. I'm going to stick around. I'm going to continue to grow this thing. And I know if I continue to do my thing and I produce results, I've already proven that I'm a valuable asset to this organization. Other organizations also see me in that same light. I'm going to roll the dice. I'm going to stay here and continue being the OC, continue calling plays, continuing to pile up points with Baker as my quarterback. And I know at some point down the line, I will get a shot to be a head coach. And it may very well be here. Who knows what the future holds? So, in a lot of ways, Liam Cohen bet on himself. And I think that bet and gamble is going to pay off in a very big way. 888-546-4620. Now, something interesting happened after Liam Cohen spurned the Jaguars to stay here in Tampa Bay. The Jaguars fired their GM, Trent Baalke, literally minutes after Liam Cohen turned them down, which is something that should have happened after the season. Everybody around the league knew that Trent Baalke staying on as GM would hurt the Jaguars' chances of landing a top-notch head coaching candidate. They were looking for an offensive guy to really, rescue Trevor Lawrence, because ever since he was the number 1 overall pick, he had some initial success, and then he fell off the table under Doug Peterson's tutelage. Now they're looking for an offensive guy, and Liam Cohen was one of 3 finalists, and he was the only offensive guy among the 3, and that's what the Buccaneers saw, and they were like, wait a second. We might lose this guy. Let's make him an offer. I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse. The whole Marlon Brando thing from The Godfather. And they did. And then Liam Cohen said, where's my money, bitch? And the Buccaneers stepped up, and they're paying him. He's getting his money. $4.5 million a year, whatever it costs. It's a beautiful thing. So when the Jaguars saw that Liam Cohen was staying, they're like, to hell with this. We know why we're not attracting the guys that we want, because this GM's holding us back. Duh. So Trent Baalke was fired earlier this afternoon, which is something they really should have done quite a while ago. Now, Jonathan Jones, who is an NFL insider for CBS Sports and the NFL on CBS, he tweeted something 15 minutes ago that really caught my attention. And Chris Mathis, you brought it to my attention as well. So this is what Jonathan Jones tweeted 15 minutes ago. With Baalke out and knowing how interested the franchise has been in Liam Cohen, it would not be shocking to see the Jaguars make another run at the Buccaneers offensive coordinator. They make them tell them no twice. Come on. Really? This is how bad Jacksonville is as a franchise, and Liam Cohen can see right through that. So Liam Cohen turns them down. Buccaneers step up. They do what good organizations do. They don't let valuable assets out of the building. They're giving him a new contract. They're going to be paying him more money. Maybe wink, wink, nod, nod, if you know what I mean, for something bigger down the road in-house. And now Jacksonville's like, oh, yeah? Trent Baalke, you're fired. Get out right now.
Third prize is you're fired.
Yeah, get out. So they say, come on, get out of here. And now they think that just because they fired Trent Baalke, they're going to try and call Liam Cohen again? That's what Jonathan Jones of the NFL on CBS, that's what he just tweeted a few minutes ago. That they're going to try and make another run at Liam Cohen. Come on. I think Liam is smarter than that. He understands that the Jaguars are a bad organization. They may have Trevor Lawrence. They may have Brian Thomas, who was a heck of a player, and Evan Ingram, and a couple of really good running backs, Tank Bigsby, Trevor Etienne. They've got some weapons. They need an offensive line. Probably need a number 2 receiver to go along with Brian Thomas. And a winnable division. So Jacksonville does have some checks. However, Shad Khan as your owner and the overall structure of that organization and the general perception that they don't do whatever it takes, they just make bad decisions, like keeping Trent Baalke on. That's a bad decision. And sometimes in life, perception is reality. And I think Liam Cohen looks at that situation like, all right, the GM's out there. I'm not going there. I love it here anyways. And the players love him too. Cade Otton, I was talking to him the day after they lost to the Commandos, and he was speaking in glowing terms. I was asking him about Liam Cohen. I was like, look, dude, this guy is legit. He's personable. Players love him. Great teacher, great motivator, great passion, great energy. He's an innovator. We love this guy. We do. So it makes sense for Liam Cohen to stay here. Look, if you're good, you're good. You'll get your shot. And he will get a shot. And it could very well be here. But amateur hour taking place up I-95 in Jacksonville is something that should be laughed at. I mean, it is a clown show up there. Maybe this will work. We just fired our GM. Talk to us now. No. He's staying here. The Bucs are giving him a new contract. And I think that's the right move for Liam Cohen. And look, kudos to the Glazers. Kudos to Jason Light. Todd Bowles also vouched for this. And you can understand why. Because the defense wasn't picking up their half of the slack. It was the offense. The offense was the main reason. What?
You insulted him a little bit.
They won 10 games. They made the playoffs because the offense couldn't be stopped. Now, the defense, look, let's be fair. The defense had their fair share of great moments. Week 2 at Detroit. Did anyone want Todd Bowles fired then? The last 5 games, the Bucs allowed a combined 9 points in the second half of their last 5 games, including, by the way, going to L.A., dropping 40 on the Chargers, Liam Cohen, and Todd Bowles and that defense shutting out Justin Herbert and company in the second half. Chargers scored 0 in the second half. So you got to give Todd some credit. However, the offense was the main reason why the Buccaneers got to where they got, a 4th straight division title. And yeah, if I'm Todd Bowles, yeah, I'm going to ownership, even though it could mean that this guy could be your eventual replacement if he stumbles in 2025. And Todd is well aware of that. But what's good for the organization, what's good for him, is to get Liam Cohen back and to maintain that continuity. So this is a grand slam for the Bucs. It's a grand slam for Baker, who's had 15 offensive coordinators since he's been in the league. You maintain that continuity, the Bucs are going to be one of the 3 or 4 best offensive units in the entire league. And it's going to lead to Liam Cohen getting a head coaching job sooner rather than later. 888-546-4620. Let's go to JC in Tampa. JC, what's going on, brother?
Big Tom, excellent show, excellent points. Just want to get your opinion on something ultimately. A lot of things falling in place for the Bucs. 3 grand slam, 3 home runs, if you will, in the draft with Barton and with Bucky and also McMillan. Okay, so certainly Jason's doing his job. Defense and Todd Bowles, what I'm getting at is this, my man. We gave up 23. Detroit gives up 45 to the same team. We gave up 20 in the first game of the year to Washington also. So it seems like the defense, like you're alluding to, is a lot better than maybe thought of initially, let's say. And there's been injuries, as we know. Of course, Detroit was beat up too. But what I'm getting at is this, Tom. What I'm thinking is with Todd Bowles, he's not the worst, and I don't think he's the best. The problem would be if you didn't have Todd Bowles, who do you get besides Liam Cohen? And we like the way Cohen's OC right now, and things seem to be good there. My question to you would be, can we get over the hump, in your opinion, with Bowles? I look at him as a B, if you will, and with a B, I don't know if you can compete with the A's. It seems to only show up when it really is high profile, high pressure. And, you know, there's other pieces of place, God knows. It's just a matter of we need some more defensive draft, but can we get over the hump with Bowles? He's not the worst, but the thing is, who's out there besides Bowles? I don't know. But just curious what you think about the ultimate top of the mountain with Bowles, whether you think we could do it with all these positive pieces. Thanks, Tom.
It's a great question, JC, and I appreciate the call. You know, by the way, in that Commanders game, the defense stopped Jaden Daniels. First and goal at the 1, stopped them, turned them over on downs. Bucs got the ball back, up 17-13 in the fourth quarter. And then, believe it or not, it was the offense that made the big mistake. The whole jet sweep fumble thing, you can't turn it over at your own 13-yard line. Washington goes ahead. They score. They wanted to win the game. And that was it. That was the game, and that was your season right there. But in terms of Todd, is he a great coach? No, he's not. Does he deserve to be fired right now? No, he does not. He's like a B-, C+ type of coach. Could you win a Super Bowl with him? Boy, oh boy, I want to say yes. The only way the Buccaneers get to the promised land is if Todd Bowles has a better infrastructure to help him. What do I mean by that? If it means, and I don't think he's going to do this, giving up the play calling so he can concentrate on other areas that he severely lacks, then I think the Buccaneers should explore that avenue. Like time management, when to use timeouts. You know, we had Greg Allman on the show last week. He's like, oh, yeah, there's somebody who helps him out with that. Really? Well, that person should be fired then. Or unless Todd Bowles is not listening to that person. Because that's where he needs the most help. There's so much on his plate right now because he's devising the game plans. He's calling all the defensive signals. Oh, by the way, you're the head coach. You're the CEO. You're in charge of the entire team. That's why there's only a handful of really special people who could do this job, like Andy Reid, Sean McVay. I think Jim Harbaugh is really good at it, so on and so forth. So Todd Bowles is going to need help, and he should request it. Because if he wants to get to that next level, he needs to be more organized, more aware on game day as to how things are developing. What do I need to think about here? I'm early in the first half. Should we challenge this? When do I use my timeouts? Late in the first half before the half? Or toward the end of the game? Those are things he needs a lot of work on. A lot of work. Ralph is in Tampa. Ralphie boy.
TKras, thanks for taking my call, brother. Hey, listen, I got a question, and, I know you can answer this, but here's a situation that I think, with all these offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators, and all the messing around before the end of the season from other teams and accusations, they come in here and they poison the minds of these guys for head coaching jobs. You're talking $12 million. That's a lot of cake. And then the players got to worry about it, but yet they got to prepare. But they don't know who's going to be their OC or their DC or who's the next coach. Do you think it's fair that the NFL allows that to happen during the course of the playoffs? I think it should be, hey, man, at the end of the season, then you can talk to these people. But prior to that, It should be hands off. That's my opinion. I just want to know what you think about that. Thanks for taking my call, brother.
Well, thank you, Ralph. I appreciate it. Look, the NFL is really not going to do anything. There are certain stipulations in place if, like, say, the Lions, for instance, if you got a bye, and they had a bye, and I don't think that's why they lost to the Commanders. They lost to the Commanders because Jaden Daniels is special. And during the bye, you were allowed to interview Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson virtually during that first week. Once you get into game week, then it's all hands off. You couldn't talk to them. So I have no problem with the rules because every year, at least 5 to 7 teams are always looking for a head coach. And look, it's a race against time. You've got to move quickly. If you know who you want, you got to move because not only do you have to hire that guy, you've got to hire a staff too. And some teams had to hire a GM and a coach, which is what the Raiders are doing. Again, the bad news, Liam Cohen is staying. The bad news is that John Spytek, Buccaneer assistant GM, is leaving the Buccaneers to become the new general manager of the Las Vegas Raiders. What's the connection there? Tom Brady. Brady's calling the shots, and he's still the Fox NFL analyst. He'll be calling the NFC Championship game this week. He'll be on the call for the Super Bowl up in New Orleans. But Tom Brady and John Spytek go way back. Former Michigan teammates. Of course, Spytek recruited Brady to come here to Tampa Bay in 2020, the Operation Shoeless Joe Jackson initiative. And look, I'm happy for John Spytek. It was his dream to become a general manager, and now he's got that dream. He's got his work cut out for him, boy. I can tell you that much. And he's walking into a very difficult situation. He's got to find a head coach now. And it's not going to be Liam Cohen. You can't take him. Sorry, he's off limits. And you got to find a quarterback. You got to draft one. The Raiders do pick pretty high up in the draft. They may have to trade up if they want Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders. But now you're in the division that features Andy Reid, Jim Harbaugh, and Sean Payton. Really tough assignment for John Spytek and company. Somebody texted in, is Mike Greenberg staying? It certainly looks like it because the only job that he interviewed for was the Jets general manager job. Now, the breaking news today involving the Jets is that they are hiring Aaron Glenn to be their new head coach. And it looks like their new GM is going to be a guy by the name of Lance Newmark, who was the Commanders' assistant GM, and also a guy that's got history with Aaron Glenn. They worked together in Detroit. So, again, connect the dots. Guys who have worked with each other will, again, work with each other again at some point. So that's a story there. Someone just asked you, hey, TKras, how do you feel about Aaron Glenn? I like it. I approve. He paid his dues. Good defensive guy, was a scout, really good player. So he's seen the game from many different angles and lenses. I think he's going to be a good head coach. He's exactly what the Jets kind of need at this point. Jets need a lot of help. I mean, his hire as offensive coordinator is going to be a key one. I know he's looking at one of his buddies who works for the Rams, but I wish him the very best of luck because he's going to need it. All right, when we come back, Liam Cohen choosing the Buccaneers over the Jaguars was blank. Oh, no, we don't do fill in the blank.
Yeah, would you rather?
Would you rather? All right, would you rather? If you're Liam Cohen, would you rather stay here, make less money, or take the Jaguars job now that Trent Baalke's gone and make more money and be a head coach? It's an interesting situation. We'll get into it next. Would you rather is coming up next here on The Drive.
You're tuned in to The Drive with TKras.
I'm getting my days mixed up here. It's a Would You Rather Wednesday. Would you rather, call on Catania if you or someone you love has been injured in an accident, product liability, medical malpractice, Social Security disability, or go with somebody else? I would go with Catania. That's my choice. I chose them after I had my injury accident, and I'm grateful to them for it. They've been at this for 30 years. They don't get paid unless you get paid, and they've been getting a lot of money for their clients. Almost $1 billion with a B has been successfully recovered by my guys for injury victims just like you. So do what I did. They're protecting my rights. They can protect your rights as well. Catania and Catania is where it's at. Give them a call. Tell them I sent you. 813-222-8545. That's 813-222-8545. Or get a free evaluation of your case online at CataniaandCatania.com, where they put families first. Office Tampa, Nara Tony spokesman.
TKras, presented by Moss Nissan on WDAE.
Oh, no, the game is yet to officially begin.
What exactly is the game?
Well, it is not a quiz or a trivia contest, nor is it a test of brute strength or athleticism. At its core, it's just a children's game, and I would wager that some of you here this evening have played Would You Rather at some point.
And we play Would You Rather right now in your ride home on this cold, blustery Wednesday. Would You Rather, presented by our friends over at Tampa General Hospital in partnership with Florida Orthopedic Institute. They provide you access to one of the top orthopedic programs in the nation. Schedule an appointment today, FloridaOrtho.com. And here he is, our guy, executive producer, Chris Mathis.
All right, Tom, I have a question regarding prime time, and I'm not talking about the time slot for the drive. We are in prime time, but I'm talking about Deion Sanders, head coach there at Colorado. If you were him, would you rather sign a contract extension at Colorado or take your talents to the NFL?
I know he loves Colorado and the camaraderie, and he's trying to build something there with the young student athletes, emphasis on the athletes, not the students. But the NIL has really changed the game of college football. It drove Nick Saban away. It's really complicated. You have the NIL. You've got the transfer portal. You're at Colorado. That's not one of the best programs in the nation. It's the Dallas Cowboys. As much as we all want to make fun of them and they haven't won anything in over 30 years, it's still the brand that is the Dallas Cowboys. Worldwide notoriety. You cannot pass that up. I would rather be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys any day of the week.
And continuing here with the coaching carousel in the NFL, would you rather be the head coach of the New York Jets? I know they just found their head coach, but let's say that, for example, or the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Are you professional or not?
Man.
And take favoritism out of the equation.
Well, look, I'm going to take it out of the equation.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Jets have some really good young players that you can build around. What they don't have, though, is a quarterback. And I know Trevor Lawrence has struggled the last couple of years. There is some talent there. It's a division that is winnable, too, in the AFC South. Only because of Trevor Lawrence, I think I would rather be the Jaguars coach, believe it or not. As awful as that sounds right now. Two buffoons for owners, by the way. I think Shad Khan and Woody Johnson are trying to one-up each other as to how miserable they are and how clueless they are. So that is, a demerit for both teams. But quarterback is where it's at, and I think you can win with Trevor Lawrence.
You do. So you still believe in Trevor?
I do.
I hope you're right. I'm still waiting for him to prove it. I know he hasn't had much consistency down there in Jacksonville. I should say up there in Jacksonville, but hopefully he'll get some moving forward. They do find their head coach. And speaking of head coach, a guy who did not take the job with Jacksonville, Liam Coen, has returned to Tampa Bay. If you were Liam Coen, would you rather have stayed here for less money and been the offensive coordinator for the Buccaneers, or taken more money and been the head coach in Jacksonville?
It's so tempting to obviously take the head coaching opportunity right now because you never know what tomorrow will bring. You'll be good. You're going to be making more money than you would if you were a coordinator. A chance to be a head coach is any coach's dream. However, if you're as good as he is, and I think Liam Coen is extremely talented, he's motivated, I think he's going to be a head coach, I think it would behoove him, and he stands to benefit even more so, if he didn't go to Jacksonville. Again, a bad situation with a bad owner, and stay here, a top 3 offense with a tremendous quarterback in Baker that he already has a rapport with. I don't know if he'll get along with Trevor Lawrence, and if Trevor Lawrence is going to be able to execute the type of offense that he wants to run up there. He knows it works here. If he stays here, he's not going to be making as much money, but in the long run, I think that's going to benefit Liam Coen greatly. Either here or somewhere else, he's going to end up getting the head coaching job that he truly wants, and then, of course, the money will come along with it.
Would you rather have lost just Liam Coen this offseason or Chris Godwin and Levante David? If you had to pick one scenario or the other, moving forward in the next season and beyond.
So, lose Liam Cohen or losing both Levante and Chris Godwin?
Absolutely.
Oh, my goodness. That's a tough one. Believe it or not, I'm going to say I'd rather keep Liam Cohen.
Wow.
And,
let Godwin and Levante walk.
I know that sounds terrible. It does.
I think I see where you're coming from, though, as far as the upside.
Because of the coaching acumen that he brings to the table, and the Bucs were able to keep him. Levante is right at the very end. And Chris Godwin coming off the ankle injury, we don't know what that looks like. I do expect both of those guys to re-sign, by the way, but we're just playing a game right now. And you're asking me, would I rather have Liam Cohen stay or the other two guys? And I just put a lot of emphasis and I put a lot of stock into what Liam Cohen is doing for the entire offense. And you saw what they did without Chris Godwin, by the way. They were still really, really good. Really good.
All right, Tom, we'll continue. Here it is. Would you rather on this Wednesday? What would you rather happen next here in Tampa Bay in the sports scene? Hosting another Super Bowl or the NFL draft?
Oh, it's a Super Bowl for me.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. All
Look,
right.
the NFL draft is great, and it's the second most watched program that the NFL puts out there after the Super Bowl. It's the draft. And people get all excited. All 32 fan bases get excited because everyone thinks they're going to knock it out of the park. It's exciting! It is exciting, Coach. But for me, I would rather have the Super Bowl here because there's so many events that go along with it. Being on Radio Row the week leading up to the Super Bowl at the convention center, seeing all the dignitaries and the great people. Radio Row the week of the Super Bowl is so much fun, so gratifying. And you have all these events and parties that take place the week leading up to the game. And then, oh, by the way, there's the game in your own backyard. From an economy standpoint, it would be a huge boost to have the Super Bowl back here as opposed to the NFL draft because you're talking about a week of activities leading up to the game itself.
And, Tom, we're going to close it out. I also see where you're coming from there, but I would like to see the NFL draft held here at some point. We've seen some Super Bowls. Has there ever been an NFL draft held in Tampa Bay?
I think that would be great to get the NFL draft here. And look, if anybody can get the NFL draft here, it's Rob Higgins. It's the Tampa Bay Sports Commission. They just got the national championship game here for 2029. So I would not bet against that guy pulling something out of the hat. It could be a rabbit. It could be something else.
It could be tricks. You never know. We'll close it out.
Turning tricks? What? Yeah, you can have that too, Super Bowl week.
Oh, man. All right. Final one. Would you rather be a good offensive coordinator in today's NFL or a great defensive coordinator with the trend of head coaches and where this league is going? Good OC, great DC.
A good OC usually leads to a head coaching job. That's what teams are looking for. The trend is offense, offense, offense. The game is tailor-made and tailored toward more scoring, overprotect the quarterback. It's an offensive league. That's what sells tickets. So, yes, I'd rather be a good OC because I can still get a head coaching job even if I'm good, not great.
And there you have it, Tampa Bay. That is Would You Rather here on the Wednesday edition of the program.
Yeah, very nice job there, Chris Mathis.
I tried to cook up a few things for you.
You
Throw
did.
you for a loop.
It is Would You Rather, always presented by our friends over at Tampa General Hospital in partnership with the Florida Orthopedic Institute. And look, it's about selling tickets and making that money, man, and offense does that more so than defense nowadays.
All right, big man, you want to make some big bucks. Let's see how tough you are.
Do you know how to call plays offensively? Dígame.
Yeah, rough one, right?
Yeah, well, it is rough. Look, Dave Canales, he picked it up toward the second half. And that's the other thing. Like the Bucs holding on to Liam Cohen for one more year. By the way, I saw some fans are panicking. Did you see this on X?
What do we have now?
Because the story from Jonathan Jones of the NFL on CBS.
Oh, yeah.
The NFL insider from CBS who says that now that the Jaguars have fired Trent Baalke, they're going to make another run at Liam Cohen. Oh,
hey,
come on.
You never know, right?
And Rick Stroud mentioned that, Liam hasn't signed the contract yet, so Bucs fans are panicking. Some Bucs fans are panicking.
You're trying to stir.
I'm not doing anything, Baker. Get on the phone with your boy Liam and let him know, listen, a deal is a deal. You're staying, and you're not going anywhere. You're not going up to that hellhole up in Jacksonville.
I'm not leaving.
That's right. You're not leaving. You're staying. And Baker needs to get on the phone and make that happen. Keep that continuity going. And look, in terms of Baker Mayfield, awesome news for him. Because how many offensive coordinators has that guy had since he's been in the league?
I think it's 9.
I think it's 9, too. And
never had back-to-back years with the same guy.
Never. So to have an offensive coordinator for a second straight year is something that he's never seen before. And he just had the best year of his life. And if he continues on that trend, oh, by the way, we talked about this yesterday when Mike Giannetti was on from Spytek. Baker's got 2 years left on his contract, $30 million next year, $40 million in 2026, and he's going to be like, look where's my money, bitch? That's right. That's exactly what he's going to say to the Glazers. 30 million, even 40 million, not enough. Okay? You need to pony it up. You got jabronis like Spicoli up there in Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence making $55 million. Are you kidding me? Jordan Love makes 50 plus million a year. And I'm making 30 and then 40 next year? You need to pony it up. All right, coming up, in case you missed it in the last hour, boy, oh boy, this was really interesting. The future of the Rays is getting murky with each passing day. Pinellas County Commissioner Chris Latvala joined me earlier in the show, and it was compelling. And he made some very interesting statements, and he also told some very interesting stories about meetings that have taken place and what was said in these meetings. But Pinellas County Commissioner Chris Latvala is coming up just after 6 o'clock. On the way back, more of your calls. You know the numbers. Darryl will get to you eventually. And Chris Mathis is going to let you know what's on tonight. That includes me. I'm on tonight. And we'll tell you where next.
You're locked in to The Drive with TKras.
It is The Drive, and it is presented by our guys over at Moss Nissan, where their goal is to never lose your business over price. TKras here, Chris Mathis there as well. I bought my last 2 vehicles over at Moss Nissan, and let me tell you, on this cold, blustery day in Tampa Bay, when I drive home tonight, Chris Mathis, I'll get into my Nissan. Heated seats, baby. The heat will be on. It'll be a nice, comfortable ride home. Heated seat. It's a beautiful thing in the comfort of my awesome new Nissan. Beautiful. By the way, with the rough weather, no problem with my Pathfinder. It is fantastic. And if you're looking for a new or pre-owned vehicle, you need to go to Moss Nissan here in 2025. Holiday hangovers, credit card debt have you down? No problem. They've got the cure.
That they do, Tom. You said the heat is on. It reminded me of that old 1984 classic, and instead of the heat is on the street, it's on the seat with your Moss Nissan, and they're offering no money down, plus no payments due until the spring.
Well played, Chris Mathis. You weren't even born back then, by the way. And listen, with every purchase, you get Moss Care. What is Moss Care? I've got it in my vehicle. I bought my last 2 vehicles there, by the way. You get unlimited oil changes and tire rotations for as long as you own the vehicle. It's a beautiful thing.
And you're going to get all of that and so much more, including the largest Nissan inventory, trucks, SUVs, cars, the whole 9, and the largest Nissan inventory in Tampa Bay.
You got that right. Now, they've got 3 locations: Tampa, Newport Richey, and Brooksville. By the way, alert, Friday, The Drive will be out and about. We'll be broadcasting live from Moss Nissan in Newport Richey this Friday for a Football Friday. So we hope you guys can join us then. Or you can check them out online at mossnissan.com. That's mossnissan.com. Moss Nissan, whatever it takes.
Program at Staples.
Good Greek moving and storage. Your superhero movers.
Now back to The Drive with TKras on 95.3 WDAE and AM 620. What's on tonight with The Drive with TKras?
Yes, sir. And here he is, our guy, the executive producer. He is back. He is an 80s connoisseur, apparently, of music. Chris Mathis.
All right, Tampa Bay, as I referenced, the heat is on. That will be on tonight, I'm sure, in your households and on the drive home following work. Also, the heated seat and your Nissan from Moss Nissan. We also have a little NBA action taking place tonight. You got the Warriors and the Kings. That game gets underway on ESPN at 10 o'clock. And then we've got free on-demand, commercial-free podcasting for this very program. All of our guests, the features, and, of course, hour-by-hour podcasting. Plus, most importantly, Tom Krasnicki, you are on TV tonight. When and where?
I am a bum, and I am on TV tonight at 10:30 on Bay News 9, Spectrum Sports 360. Myself and Ronnie Lane, joined by the lovely and talented Olivia Stacey. We'll be talking about the Buccaneers and Liam Cohen and John Spytek and Todd Bowles. That's tonight at 10:30. And I'll also be on tomorrow night at 10:30 and Saturday night at 10:30, all on Bay News 9. So not once, not twice, but 3 times you can catch it.
Awesome, man.
That's terrific. So that's tonight.
Kind of reminded me of LeBron James there. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5. And
yeah.
You know, I think 3 you can accomplish.
3?
That was a shot at LeBron.
Yeah, look, that didn't go over really, really well, but I think he's done okay since then.
Yeah, he's been okay. He's been okay.
So tonight, 10:30, Bay News 9. Check it out. And you can see why I have such a glorious face for TV as well as radio. The model, you know, look at this face. You people smell. One of the great gimmicks back in the 90s, Rick the Model Martel. By the way, speaking of wrestling and wrestling references, we'll talk about this in the next hour, but tomorrow on the show, Chris Mathis, you did a tremendous job today. Tomorrow, you have Mike Florio of ProFootballTalk.com. Is that right?
That would be correct. 4:05 tomorrow, talking all things Liam Cohen, of course, the NFL, playoffs, and coaching carousel, too.
And wrestling. Old wrestling references as well. So we can't forget about that. Choke him now. Choke him. Choke him. Choke him. Don't worry about Vanna White. You got me. You got the giant, Mike Florio. I'm going to squeeze you tomorrow. All right, let's go back to the phones.
You got to do that tomorrow, Tom.
Oh, well, Andre the Giant?
You have to.
I'm sure he'll love it. I'll do it. You know? I'll do it. Darryl is in Tampa. Darryl, what's going on over there?
Hey, TKras. I wanted to ask you something in all seriousness concerning the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I believe in you. You can put the kibosh on this rumor. Is there any truth to this rumor that the Buccaneers would be trading for Tyreek Hill? He was seen here in Tampa. Is that true, or just some rumor being put out here?
That is a rumor, Darryl, and I appreciate the call. There's nothing to that. He was here last Friday. He was spotted at Brandon Mall. He was shopping with his 45 kids or whatever. But everyone saw that. They saw him. He put out a tweet. We talked about it. And I told Chris Mathis, I'm like, Tyreek Hill just put out a tweet. Hey, I'm driving to Tampa. I'll be there in 3 hours, whatever. And it takes more than 3 hours from Miami. But there's nothing to that. He's got 2 years left to go in his contract. People got all excited thinking that he was coming to the Bucs just because he said he's driving to Tampa. The Bucs want nothing to do with that guy. Speaking of the Dolphins, Ed in Seminole, he texted in, could you please tell me how the Dolphins can straighten out the mess that they're in? I don't want them to straighten out the mess that they're in. I want them to continue the mess that they're in. Nobody cares, dude. That's another guy, by the way. You know, we talk about Baker, his new contract. How much is Tua making? You know, you pat him on the back, he's in concussion protocol. Come on. I don't know about the Dolphins. Tyreek Hill wants out. Mike McDaniel, I think the luster is wearing off. I mean, how many pop passes a game that you need to be doing? I think the league has adjusted to Mike McDaniel and that offense a little bit. I don't see the Dolphins more than an ordinary team, man. And they could use some help in the trenches, along the offensive line. Look, their skill position guys are fine. Jalen Waddle's fine. Tyreek Hill, got to find out what's going on there. And they could use some help on they got to stay healthy on defense. That's one of the biggest problems that they had there. All right, who cares about that? All right, 3 hours are in the books. Coming up, tick, tick, tick. There is a deadline. The silence is deafening from the Rays. The bonds have been approved, so why aren't the Rays signing on the dotted line? What's taking them so long? We're going to get the scoop on what's happening with the Rays in the stadium situation. Pinellas County Commissioner Chris Latvala will join the show coming up next.
You're locked in to The Drive with TKras.
Ladies and gentlemen, on your ride home, be very careful. An injury accident, as I found out, can happen to anyone at any time. And if you happen to be the victim, and I was as well, the first thing I did was call Catania and Catania, the personal injury law firm. They've been doing their thing for the last 30 years. They work on a contingency, which means there's no cost to you unless they win. And they've done plenty of winning over the years. Almost $1 billion has been recovered by my guys for injury victims just like you. So protect your right to protecting mine, whether it's an injury accident, product liability, medical malpractice, Social Security disability. They handle those cases as well. I know somebody who has employed Catania to help them out in that regard. My brother, in fact. So you need to get with Catania and Catania. Here's the number, 813-222-8545. That's 813-222-8545 or online at CataniaandCatania.com, where they put families first. Office step.
From Holiday to Oldsmar and all around Tampa Bay, plus worldwide on iHeartRadio.
The gloves are off. I'm playing hardball. It's 4th and 15, and you're looking at a full court press.
You're tuned into the voice of the Tampa Bay sports fan.
You're going to like this guy. He's all right. He's a good fella. He's one of us.
Buckle up, because you're on the drive with TKras. Afternoons on 95.3 WDAE and AM 620.
Welcome back. Hour number 4. Good evening, Tampa Bay. 6:07 on your ride home. The Drive with TKras, presented by Moss Nissan. Taking you up until 7 o'clock. Chris Mathis doing another terrific job on the other side. And you on the phones, more of your calls coming up. The big news of the day, Liam Cohen is staying with the Buccaneers. Bucs are going to pay him more money, a new contract, keeping him away from Jacksonville. The bad news that John Spytek, Bucs assistant GM, is leaving to become the general manager of the Las Vegas Raiders, working with Tom Brady. We'll have more on that coming up in a matter of moments. A lot of NFL to get into. But the Rays and their future, you're going to start to hear more talk about this when pitchers and catchers report in about 3 weeks. And there's a deadline coming up in late March for the Rays and their stadium deal. What will they do? All right, let's go to the Central Florida Behavioral Health Network DA hotline. Learn more at cfbhn.org. He's standing by. I'm sure he wants to talk about Liam Cohen staying with the Bucs. It's Pinellas County Commissioner Chris Latvala. He's back with us on the show. What's going on, Chris?
Hey, good afternoon. It's a big day in Tampa Bay.
It sure is. I know you're very eager to talk about the Buccaneers and Liam Cohen back, huh?
Yes, sir. That's big news. I'm glad the Jaguars fumbled it.
The Jaguars always find a way. Bad owners always find a way to mess it up for everybody else and their poor fan base.
36 days ago, and 21 days after our first delay, which occurred right after a hurricane, the Rays sent us a letter saying that the stadium would be delayed for a year and it would, massive cost increase. And now it's been 36 days and they really haven't said much, or really they haven't said anything other than
She heard from the Rays.
I spoke to the Rays in November. I had a 5-minute conversation with one of their presidents. It was right before the second time that we delayed it, and it wasn't a very pleasant conversation. I have not talked to them since then. Our county administrator,
okay.
And it's, just a general meeting that I believe the city may have been a part of as well.
How did that meeting go? I mean, what was the tone of the meeting?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really want to get into.
Did they ask for more money in this meeting? Is that what they did?
Yeah, I mean, they asked for more money 10 minutes after we approved it. They sent out a press release saying that they, needed more money and expected more money. But I can tell you that Major League Baseball has, been involved probably since, November, and they're still involved to get Major League Baseball's approval to even look outside of Tampa Bay.
Pinellas County Commissioner Chris Latvala is with me here on the drive. So I think the Rays were upset when the vote was delayed the first time in late October, but, the circumstances were certainly not ideal. There were 2 hurricanes.
And, if Mr. Sternberg's not a billionaire, he's awfully close. And the moment he sells the Rays, he's going to be a billionaire. So it's hard to have sympathy for somebody, of his wealth. And, the Rays are by far not the only business in town that suffered from a hurricane. And I think they were very disingenuous when they tried to blame the county for the delay and for the cost overruns and all that kind of stuff. When, for the year or two during negotiations, they were delayed several times because of the Rays wanting more money. And that wasn't reported in the media. And so,
Had a conversation with Stu Sternberg?
Yeah, I've met him twice. The first time was at a social event, and we mainly talked about the baseball team. And we talked about the minor league system. And I told him how impressed I was with the baseball people that he had in place.
Does that bother any of your peers at all? Because if you want to get something done in business, you want to go right to the man, right?
I mean, it doesn't really, I don't have to talk to him per se, but, they were upset at when we delayed the vote, but they weren't and they didn't even show up at the meeting. And there was another, one or two county commission meetings that they didn't show up to. And so, they're, and I've had a lot of respect for both of their presidents, because I've dealt with them a lot. But, their whole strategy now is give a billionaire more money. And that's just baffling to me. And I think that's one of the reasons why Major League Baseball quickly, sided with, the local governments.
Why do you think the Rays haven't said anything in the last few weeks since you approved the bonds? Do you have any idea?
I want to go through with. Because there's no doubt that their finances suffered because of the hurricane.
Oh, no question.
But, they never use that as an excuse. They use the, bond delay as the excuse of why the deal died, on their end, or why the deal suffered, or, why the stadium, is going to be agreed to. I believe it's 11. And a couple of them they have met. For instance, one of them is getting a loan from Major League Baseball of $100 million, which they have done. They did that very early on, and we had the letter from Major League Baseball. But then there's, a lot of other things that they have to meet. And the deadline for them to do that is March 31st. And if they don't do that by March 31st, the deal terminates on its own.
And then what happens after the deal terminates? If we get to
the new owner can decide if they want to do a stadium in St. Pete or in Tampa or, wherever in the Tampa Bay area.
And that may very well happen. There are certainly a lot of variables in place here. We're talking about it. Pinellas County Commissioner Chris Latvala is with me here on the drive.
$100 million that they're getting from Major League Baseball is something that any team owner can get. So It's not just, something specific to them.
Gotcha. So you had an opportunity to meet with Rob Manfred, and Major League Baseball, as you mentioned, they're becoming more and more prevalent.
And he wanted the bonds to pass. And, and I said, okay, I understand. And, and then we talked about some other things, and, he answered some questions that I had, and he gave me his phone number and told me to call him anytime I had any questions. And, but it's something finalized, and, and then see what happens on the Rays end.
Well, listen, you can pass along his number to me because I'd like to talk to him as well. Chris Latvala is with me, Pinellas County Commissioner. So he was urging you guys to pass the bond.
What finally, led me to vote for the bonds. And it really, the main reason was talking to Rob Manfred, because it became apparent to me that if the bonds didn't pass, that, it was very possible that the Rays could eventually leave.
All right, clear something up for us. So if the Rays back out of this deal by March 31st and the deal is going to be here, we're like a couple of months away from this deadline, and it'll be here before you know it. So what needs to happen between now and March 31st?
Yeah, I think, in an ideal world, Stu Sternberg writes a check and a stadium gets built where he wants it to be built and where he advocated for it to be. I'm not sure. I imagine that it's getting pretty dicey now. I think it's certainly possible for it to be open at some point in the 2028 season. And then there's been stadiums that have opened midway through the season.
Now, they're going to be playing at Steinbrenner Field. I had the story yesterday. Go to some games, right? I'm going to see you there.
Yeah, if they're reasonably priced, I will. And even if it's, $100 or $150, I'll try to make it over to one or two.
All right. It's very interesting happenings with the Rays. They've got this deadline. And what's your gut feeling telling you here, Chris, as I let you go? your thoughts on Liam Cohen and the Buccaneers. We got that right. You're very happy about that. That's why you thought you were coming on, right?
Yes, sir.
I really appreciate a few minutes of your time, and I appreciate you listening to our show every day, right?
Absolutely.
All right, well, if there's anything you need, reach out to us. We'll talk soon. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, my friend.
Chris, thank you. Chris Latvala joining us here on the program. Certainly a lot happening with the Rays. Sometimes deadlines spur deals, and we have this March 31st deadline, and the fact that the Rays really haven't said much in the last few weeks, and I said this before, I think their silence is deafening here. They're up to something. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe there's something happening behind the scenes with the Rays, maybe contemplating selling part of the team. Who knows? I don't know that. I know that those talks have been happening now for the last couple of years, and they're hard up for money, and they need money if they're going to make this deal work. And if they don't make it work, maybe Stu sells it to somebody who is willing to make it work. Now, Forbes calculated the Rays' estimate at $1.2 billion. I've been told by some people that if Stu were to sell, that he would get in excess of $1.5 billion, somewhere between $1.5, $1.8 billion for the Rays. And he would make over $1 billion on that sale. So, really interesting stuff happening with the Rays. And, of course, we will keep you updated. By the way, there is some news regarding the Rays on the field, sort of, having to do with their on-the-field product. The Rays and their guy there, Taylor Walls, have avoided arbitration. So there's that. Remember, Taylor Walls took him to arbitration. The Rays struck up deals with the rest of the guys except for him. He was a lone wolf that took him to arbitration.
Took him to Twitter, too. Was discussing the contract on Twitter a bit as well.
Yeah, he was a little bit. But the Rays have struck a deal with Taylor Walls, so they will avoid arbitration there. They split the difference, is what ended up happening there. All right, good for them. Coming up, more of your calls, 888-546-4620. The big news of the day, Liam Cohen has decided to stay. However, the Buccaneers did lose a valuable piece, and you're not going to believe this. The Jaguars are not taking no for an answer. They're breaking developments on this. Wait until you hear this part of it. That is coming your way next year on The Drive.
You're locked in to The Drive with TKras.
Guys, Happy New Year from my guys over at Green Tech Roofing and Solar, the #1 roofing solution in Tampa Bay. They offer free inspections, and they've always been there for you. It was a tough 2024 with the two big hurricanes that came through. So they wanted me to let you know, if you're still dealing with roof damages, if you're looking to replace your roof, you got to give my guys a holler over at Green Tech. They're locally owned, licensed, and trusted by the Tampa Bay community. Beware of those out-of-market companies taking advantage of residents. They go door to door in neighborhoods. Forget those guys. Go with the trusted guys, the guys who have been there and done that. They helped me out. I had some damage as a result of Hurricane Milton. John Franco came by, assessed it, and they cleaned it up for me. They repaired the damage from my roof and my soffit, and I thought they did a great job. I gave them a 5-star review. In fact, they have over 400 5-star reviews. They do commercial, they do residential. So get in touch with them. Go to their updated website, greentechroofing.com. It is awesome. You can see examples of the fine work they have done over the years here in the Tampa Bay area. So greentechroofing.com. Schedule your free roof inspection. Green Tech Roofing and Solar.
and start packing.
Shift into high gear for the Drive with TKras, courtesy of Moss Nissan, only on WDAE.
Like, I think he can be in that McVay, Shanahan, like those kinds of guys. Those guys, those teams with relative health are in the playoffs every single year. They're competing for Super Bowls every single year. Like those types of teams, those types of coaches, the Andy Reids, the top offensive minds. I think Cohen could be the next one of those guys, similar to how Ben Johnson is becoming the next one of those guys.
That's my conversation with my guy, NFL analyst John Ledger. That's high praise right there, putting Liam Cohen in the same breath as a guy like Sean McVay or Ben Johnson, an offensive mastermind who engineers a top 5 offense. The Buccaneers were in the playoffs this year mainly because of their offense. And now Liam Cohen will be able to stay here in Tampa Bay, at least for the moment. At least that's what we're thinking. As we welcome you back, it is 6:36 on your ride home. The Drive with TKras. Great to have you with us. Chris Mathis on the other side. Your calls, we'll take them. 888-546-4620. So Liam Cohen is staying, and I applaud him because he's betting on himself. He is saying no to a head coaching opportunity, and I'm telling you, Jacksonville would have offered him the head coaching job had he gone up there for a second interview. You know who else knew that? The Buccaneers. That's why they moved quickly to say, listen, you're not going anywhere. We're keeping you right here where you belong.
I'm not leaving.
And at the end of the day, Liam Cohen will get a new contract that will pay him among the highest paid coordinators in the NFL at more than $4 million a year. And he deserves it. He did an incredible job with this offense. And I will stand by what I said. I think this is the best offense the Buccaneers have ever had. Yes, the 2021 offense was prolific, but I'll tell you this. That offense didn't run the ball nearly as well as this year's team did. The Buccaneers were in the top 5 in running, in passing, in scoring. They were number 1 in third down offense. Third down conversions more than 50% of the time, and a lot of that was due to Baker Mayfield and his ability off schedule to make plays, to extend plays with his legs, to tuck the ball away, get out, make some scrambles, make some yards. He made some great decisions. By the way, nobody has to be happier in Tampa Bay right now than Baker Mayfield. Are you kidding me? He's had like 28 offensive coordinators since he's been in the league. And now he gets one 2 straight years, which has never happened before. So you know he's got to be extremely happy over this news. Now, the Bucs did lose John Spytek today, assistant GM. He's leaving the Buccaneers to become the new general manager of the Las Vegas Raiders. So Spytek joins his good friend Tom Brady out in Sin City.
Oh, so what's the question?
Well, the question here, Tommy boy, is how were you able to get him away from here? And how successful do you think you're going to be? Now, John Spytek needs to hire a head coach. I have no idea who the Raiders are going to hire. It's not going to be Liam Cohen, at least we don't think it is. And you're walking into a division that has 3 future Hall of Fame coaches in it and 3 pretty good quarterbacks too, including one of the all-time greats in Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City, Justin Herbert in L.A. with the Chargers, and the rookie sensation Bo Nix. So the Raiders are behind the 8 ball, and John Spytek knows that, but John Spytek also knows that general manager jobs do not come along frequently. And when you get an opportunity to be a GM, you got to jump on it. Same thing with being a head coach. Liam Cohen knows that these jobs don't come around, but he's betting on himself because he knows how good he is, how hard he works. He knows that this Buccaneer offense, the main participants will be back. The O-line returns. Brenderson at left guard is a free agent. We'll find out what happens there, but Wirfs is back. Graham Barton in year 2 is only going to get better. Cody Malk is only going to get better. Lou Gedeke, once he came back from the concussion, was one of the better right tackles in the NFL. Bucky Irving, year 2, only going to get better. And the Bucs found out that they are 3 to 4 deep at the tight end position. Mike Evans will be back. Jalen McMillan will improve. Maybe Chris Godwin comes back. Just think about that. If Chris Godwin comes back, this offense will go to even another level because of how he does in a blocking game, out of the slot. He was having the year of his life before he got hurt. And if he comes back, you put Mike Evans on one side, Jalen McMillan at the other side, Chris Godwin in the slot. Good luck. I don't know how you're going to stop that. Now, there could be a complication. According to Jonathan Jones, he's an NFL insider for CBS, Trent Baalke, the GM of the Jaguars, was fired after Liam Cohen decided that he was staying with the Buccaneers. So Shad Khan turned around and fired his GM, who obviously was the main stumbling block to Jacksonville getting the head coaching candidate of their preference. Now that Trent Baalke's out of the way, according to Jonathan Jones of CBS, the Jaguars are gearing up for yet another run at Liam Cohen. I kid you not. They're going to force Liam Cohen to turn them down twice, maybe in as many days. Do you believe this? This is Jacksonville. This is the Jacksonville Jaguars, folks, in living color. They don't take no for an answer. Well, guess what? Listen, I don't care if Trent Baalke's not there anymore. If you're Liam Cohen, I think you're perfectly fine with where you're at now. You're going to get paid more money now. Well-deserved raise, great offense, great talent. If you stick around here, you might even be the man in waiting. Maybe that's written. Maybe that's wink, wink, nod, nod type of agreement with the Buccaneers brass. Who knows? But I think it's laughable that Jacksonville, okay, wait a minute. You don't like our GM? Okay, wait, you, get out. Trent Baalke, pack your things. You're done. Get out.
Come on, get out of here.
Yeah, get lost.
Third prize is you're fired.
Only Jacksonville would do something like that. All right, you're fired. And then, yes, Liam Cohen, this is Shad Khan with my pointy mustache. Listen, we got some news for you. We just fired our GM. I know you didn't like him. So, would that interest you at all? Oh, my goodness. You know what Jacksonville reminds you of? He reminds you of, all right, the girl that you might have gone out with and maybe you didn't like her hair and maybe you didn't like her personality or the way she dresses. And then all of a sudden she's like, okay, I'll dress better. Now will you take me back? You don't like my hair? I'll change my hair. I'll buy new clothes. I'll do whatever it takes just to get you to go out with me again. Just don't break up with me. That's what it reminds me of. This is an act of desperation by the Jaguars. And quite frankly, I find it pathetic. All right, coming up, final thoughts, the final drive on this Would You Rather Wednesday, and a look ahead to another stellar show that's coming your way tomorrow and the day after tomorrow, and that is coming up next.
You're locked in to The Drive with TKras.
Guys, you could kick off the new year by impressing her, your better half, with a timeless diamond from my guys over at the Golden Diamond Store. Steve and Julie Weintraub celebrating their 40-year anniversary, and it's the best place to get engaged. If you're ready to pop the big question, you can find the perfect engagement ring at the Golden Diamond Source. Chris Mathis did that. He bought his engagement ring at the Golden Diamond Source, and he proposed to his lovely Lily during the holidays, and she said yes. She said, I can't believe it. You certainly know a way to a girl's heart. Yes. That's how she reacted. That's true story, first person perspective, folks. You could make her January birthday, by the way, unforgettable, or your 2nd and 6th wedding anniversaries unforgettable with up to 15% off Garnet, which happens to be the January birthstone. While you're there, guys, discover Emilique. That's by Emily Johnson Weintraub. Her incredible, sleek, and modern jewelry line that makes everyday gifts extraordinary. And also, guys, turn old, unused gold into cold, hard cash or a stunning new piece. With gold prices soaring, there's no better time to trade up than right now at the Gold and Diamond Source. So for 2025, make sure it's a Gold and Diamond Source diamond at 3800 Omerton Road in Clearwater, or you're always online.
And super low prices throughout the store and everything for your business. And right now at Staples, save up to $175 off your print order. Exclusions apply. Visit staples.com/print for details. Ends 2/1. Plus, save even more with the Easy Rewards program at Staples.
The Drive is live with TKras on 95.3 WDAE and AM 620. The Final Drive.
As we close out this show on a Would You Rather Wednesday, it certainly has been a fun show. It's been a great show. Unfortunately, I have some bad news personally to report. One of the great listeners to this program for many, many years, he's been a friend of the show, unfortunately, has passed on. Bob Gonzalez, great guy, vibrant, caring, considerate, big sports fan. He never missed a show. He listened each and every day. Bob unfortunately passed away last night at the age of 95. God rest his soul. He was a wonderful person. I enjoyed the time that I had around him. He was also great. He was affable. He was caring. He loved his sports, and he was a faithful listener to yours truly in The Drive for many, many years until his body gave out. But his soul and his legacy lives on. Bob, we're going to miss you. Prayers to his family.
The Final Drive.
He's a good man, and he's going to be missed. He listened to our show and our radio station every single day until he no longer could. So, 95, man. He lived a great life. He was an extraordinary man, and I'm going to miss him. My thanks to Chris Latvala, Pinellas County Commissioner, and Barrett Salih for joining us. Great job, Chris Mathis, as always. If you miss any of those interviews, 953WDA.com, click on The Drive. Commercial-free podcast. You can listen to them as well through the new and improved iHeartRadio app. Make sure you download that bad boy as well. Tomorrow, Mike Florio will join us. We'll talk Bucs and NFL. The Liam Cohen story will continue to develop, so we'll get with him on that, as well as Championship Sunday predictions. And we also have a little Let It Ride action tomorrow as well. I'll see you guys on TV tonight, Bay News 9 at 10:30. More on Liam Cohen tonight on the Tube. Until then, have a great night, everyone. You're dismissed.
Come on, get out of here!
So what's the question?
Where's my money, bitch?
Listening on the free iHeartRadio app? Thanks to Farah and Farah. It's never been easier to send your opinions directly to your favorite show. When you open the app, click the red talkback microphone and hit send. Farah and Farah, here to make it easy, Tampa.
TKras and Chris Mathis here for our friends over at Moss Nissan. If you're car shopping in 2025, you've got holiday hangover, credit card debt have you down as well? Well, we've got the cure.
$0 down, $0 payments until the spring.
Plus, with every purchase, you get Moss Care. I bought my last two vehicles at Moss Nissan.
You get all of this while selecting from the largest Nissan inventory in Tampa Bay.
They've got 3 convenient locations: North Tampa, Newport Richey, and Brooksville. Moss Nissan, whatever it takes.
Hey, Rays fans, for the best insights, interviews, and analysis surrounding the Rays, check out the Tampa Bay Rays podcast, hosted by your favorite Rays radio personalities. Just search Tampa Bay Rays for all the latest on demand on the iHeartRadio app, and raise up with the Tampa Bay Rays.
Men, if you're suffering from erectile